Did it say live? Hey guys, I missed the live symbol or the live thing.
Hi,
Hey,
everybody.
Ashley, I forgot to text you to tell you. I knew I was forgetting. I tried to text everybody to tell them. Okay. Anyway, I'm glad you saw it. Hey, Tennessee, hope rains. Sorry about the timing. Well, I'm sitting here with Bella. I'm like, wait, normally there's people in chat. And then Hope Rains is like, today or tomorrow? And I'm like, oh my God, I have tomorrow up. Like in the morning.
We were laughing about it.
Yeah. I was just
Yeah.
about to check. I'm like, why isn't anybody here? Usually there's a few people talking, but duh, that's
And
why.
Hope Rains comes back and she's like, I still have it for tomorrow at 8 p.m.
I
Like
know, and I
24.
still have it because I don't know. Thanks, Hope Rains. Hey, Ashley. I keep saying, why do I say hi to the same people over and over? I feel like sometimes we're, never mind. Like I
think it's
forget
good.
and I repeat. No, yeah, but sometimes I'll forget. Like, no, like I didn't say hi, and then I say hi to them like 3 times. But no, it's all right.
Hi, Ashley.
Hey,
That's
Ashley,
four.
again. Yeah, Ashley, you're important there. Awaken the art. Hey,
All the sweet people are here.
I know, Tennessee. I'm going backwards up.
TM.
We got Lady in the house.
Whoop.
Yeah. Who else? Marissa, hey. Ellen, hi. Cats Gallery, hi. So Trace on the case, hey, how many of you guys have heard of this case? So there is a series, like a Hulu series, and then there's supposed to be a HBO series coming out. I don't think it came out yet. How many of you guys have seen the Candy Montgomery, the Hulu series on it? It came out in, what was it, May, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
I think it's
May or June? Which, hold on. It already came out. It's like a mini series. Go ahead, Bella. What?
I think it's only like 2-3 weeks old, but it's like a 5-part series.
How many
Aaron's
have
watched it.
seen it? I watched. Okay, cool, Aaron. You've seen it. I want to see when that HBO, because there's supposed to be a. Let me see, HBO series too. I don't know. Did anybody see that? Is that out yet? Let me see. What did you guys think? I haven't got to see it yet. Bella just told me about it, and then we just a couple days ago, and then I just researched a little on my own, but I haven't got to watch it because I don't have Hulu. So, hey, Ohio Italian lady.
Hello.
Love and Death is the one on HBO. Oh, so that was from. Wait a minute. So that, you know why that freaking article was old, so it's already out. The Love and Death one. It looks like. Wait.
Really?
Hold on. Love and Death. Because, well, this article is from 2021 in October, so let me see.
We really want to see it, though.
I think the Love and Death one did already come out, too. But so there's 2 series. But I am going to see one of them at least for sure.
Aaron got Hulu just for 1 month to watch it. That's what I'm talking about.
So it's really good, huh? Yeah, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like the HBO thing is out. I'm trying to get like a date of when. Oh no, a premiere set for 2022. The HBO series. It doesn't say what month, so maybe it's not out yet. Does anybody know? Sometime this year, whether it's out or not. That wouldn't be the same thing as the Hulu. No, because they named 2 different actors playing the same character. They're like, this guy on this one, he's playing. Never mind. Yeah. So this is Love and Death. What's the one on Hulu called, guys? Does anybody
Candy.
know?
It's
just called Candy? Okay. So the one on HBO is called Love and Death. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm going to try to watch at least one of them for sure. So Aaron, you recommend the Hulu one? Maybe I'll try to get that one because I don't have either Hulu or HBO, so I'll have to make a special like purchase or something to do one of them. You know. Hey, Christina Nicole. Dizzy,
Christina Nicole. Will you watch it though, Christina Nicole, after not watching TV for 2 months? That's the question, right? Yay.
Wait, what do you mean?
She says, I haven't watched TV for 2 months, so like, you know.
Oh, okay.
Maybe this is the thing that gets you in. Dizzy, you're so sweet. Awaken the art. Hey, jealousy.
Hey, Jealousy. Hey, Jealousy. I was just watching your videos. They're so cute. He did like a memorial for Linda with it. That was so
He
sweet.
did?
Yeah, I just watched it earlier. I watched a bunch of them. Yeah.
You did hate jealousy? That's the
Isn't that
kindest
weird? Something
thing.
just made me go. I don't know. It was so weird because I never usually. Why was I on one of my lives? I never even usually rewatch my lives, but I went there to get something or something. And hey, Batman, I saw your name, and I was just for some reason I clicked on it, which I go back and watch your channel anyway. But why did I do it today? I'm glad because you had a lot of new ones. So I click on it, and I'm like, oh, go to channel, and then I just went to your channel and watched all your new ones. So it was. I'm glad I did though.
I want to go on. We're gonna.
Jealousy. What's
That's
that?
sweet. I'm gonna watch after this. I'm gonna go to your channel. Hey, jealousy.
Hey, Anaphylaxis, Dark Sea, what's up?
All the beautiful
Aw.
people.
Yes. Oh, Hulu gives, but don't you have to have like I don't know how that works. I know I'm like strictly YouTube, and that's all I really watch, and like
It
cable.
is.
But like we have the thing, but I don't know how that all. I don't even know how that operates.
Who has time when you're Zav?
Yeah.
There's no time.
Or anybody, right? All right. So what was that one of Mez's cups you're drinking out of or no?
Yes, my favorite. Yes. Wait.
Yay, Mez. I don't know if Mez is here, but Mez, Tennessee, do you have her website link or whatever? People want to order. Remember my Jerry Bear one that I drink out of sometimes? That's that's what she makes them. She makes like custom ones, and yeah, they're really cool guys.
This is a custom color. It has glitter because she knows I love glitter. But yeah, you can get usually this one's brown, but you could get it. It says what the succulent.
Wait, wasn't there a certain top to it or something? Let me see.
It has a succulent.
Can you drink out of it with it on?
With the straw. So like you can't really do like hot liquids with the cup on. And I usually do coffee in this because it keeps it hot for so long. Every morning I wake up with Mez. K-Clo! Michelle Clifford.
Michelle, yeah, that's who I was trying to. Hold on, I'm trying to get this centered. Gosh, my OCD is really acting up.
You did good today. You let me make the thumbnail. I think that was like letting go.
See, I wanted to say
that's why it sucks.
You guys tell Bella.
That's why it's not. That's why it's not a normal Zav thumbnail. Because she let go of the reins a little, and I did it. And I was like, I don't know if you'll like it.
No, it's just as good as anything I do. It's not. No, isn't it good, guys? The thumbnail.
She feels bad because I feel like it's bad. We'll get over it.
No, but I really do like it. Hey, K-Clo. Sorry, I was getting to. Okay, so that's the end of the list. Cool. I think we got that. Oh, hey, Nell Bell. All right, so yeah, K-Clo, we were just talking about that. There's 2 series that HBO. Not sure if that's out yet. I don't think it is for some reason. 2022, they said. Love and what did I say? And then that Hulu is just called Candy.
Love and Death. Love and Death.
Love and Death. Yeah. And there's 2. And it's really interesting. From 1980 here, I'm going to give you a little rundown and pictures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little kind of summary of everything. And then I found this really nicely written, like interesting piece of writing about this story that me and Bella are going to take turns reading. It drew me in like the last 2 days. Like I've been in like, it just sucked me in reading it, and it's about this. So first of all, let me show you a couple pictures here of who we're talking about. So this is from 1980. So in the pictures show, I feel like you can tell.
I brought my clip to be 1980, but
I
don't know. Here,
do it up.
So 1980. They don't have the same hair as me though. You know?
Okay, so this is her right here with the right here. You could see my cursor. Yeah, okay. This is the Betty, the woman she kills.
Betty Gore.
Betty Gore, yeah. This is Candy. I should have said her name earlier. So this is Candy, the one that
Candy
killed her, and you'll
Montgomery.
hear about this everything. And then I'm not sure who this lady is beside her, but
We'll find
that's
out.
Candy again. And that's Candy, and that's her husband, Pat.
Pat with the nice hair, because Alan didn't have good hair.
I can't find. I think there might be one picture of Alan I'll show you and see. It's like in the background. So here's Candy and Betty. So this Candy's the axe murderer. Well, you'll see what you think. I'm still not 100. Well, I don't know. We're gonna do a poll after and see what you guys think of everything. I'd be interested to see. So yeah, that's Candy. That's Betty. Or can see my cursor, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay. And then that's Betty, and yeah, this looks like maybe a younger picture.
Betty loved puppies. It looks like Benji from the 80s.
It does. Oh my god, yeah.
Everyone needs a Benji.
Yeah. Candy and her husband. So this is Candace Montgomery with husband Pat inside the old Collin County Courthouse after her acquittal. Special collections for Worcester. Okay, so that's them two right there. Same thing. Her husband with Pat after her acquittal. Her husband Pat walking in the old Collin Courthouse ahead of her trial. October 29th, 1980. This is her attorney, Don Crowder, outside the old Collin County Courthouse after a jury acquitted Candace, which we'll get into. This is another picture of him.
There's more pictures of the attorney than there are of Alan.
So I know. So he ended up killing himself a little years later after his brother died. Yeah, after his brother died. So I don't know. Could be a mixture of things. But his brother died, and then he ended up killing himself. And then also Candy and Pat. He was like Pat stayed by her side the whole trial, and then they ended up getting a divorce after all. And you'll hear all about it. The guy she had the affair with, he ended up remarrying and got a divorce. But yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself, I think. So, okay, so members of press gather around defense attorney Don Crowder outside of the old Collin County Courthouse after a jury acquitted Candace. Okay, so here's just the pictures. That's Candy and her husband.
Pat.
Pat, yep. Yeah, good. You keep saying the name, so then when they hear the story, they got a picture with the face. So yeah, Candy and Pat. The jury 3 hours deliberation. I thought the other article said 5-hour deliberation, but either way, it's a pretty short deliberation. So her defense was self-defense. You'll see later, and then yeah, Candy and Betty. Why do I keep? Okay, so that's all the pictures I have. So let's get into the good stuff, huh? Hey, Victoria Storendor, you still have your name, Gaily.
That's such a good name. I like how you changed it, Gaily.
How long are you gonna? Yeah, I should change. How long are you gonna? I almost miss Gaily though. You got to get Gaily back soon. I know you just do the celebration for Johnny a couple more days, but eventually go back to my Gaily. Because sometimes I don't know. Because the thing is I still call you Gaily, so then people probably don't realize who I'm even talking to.
They're like, "Where's Gaily? I'm here."
I know, don't they? And then didn't people start wearing big glasses again like a few years ago? I feel like I don't know if they still do.
No, nobody does that anymore.
No, they probably still do. Yeah, no, it came back in style. Is the point? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're funny. I didn't even realize you.
You're gonna watch this back and be like, you totally said something that was kind of funny.
You did. I know. I miss so much, and then I need to start watching them back. At least when I do lives with you, because I always miss so much stuff, and then I feel bad though, because I'm like, oh my god, it looks like I was just flat out ignoring her, and she said you say these funny things, and or sometimes you'll be asking me something, and I'm just ignoring you, but it's just I don't hear in the moment.
It's our dynamic.
Yeah. Okay, so hi, Island Girl. A candy on who? Oh, you did. I think it was who. Good. What did you think of it, Island? I haven't watched it yet. Either Isabella.
Yeah, we haven't yet. We're like, yay, wanting to.
We might have to. What is today's date? You think? Well, let me see if I think I'll do. No,
Michelle.
I probably will do another live before your birthday though. So not quite yet, Michelle. You'll get your birthday a little bit because that's in like 2 weeks almost. So I'll be going live before that. But happy birthday! You'll get your song a little bit later.
we'll sing.
Oh, thanks, Annette.
Yes, you guys. It'll help the algorithm. Great idea, Annette P. It does. It really helps the algorithm if you guys do push the thumbs up.
Yes. Elizabeth, we're talking about Candy Montgomery. This is a case from 1980. And the reason we decided to talk about it is, well, because Bella was telling me about the series that just came out like a couple weeks ago on Hulu. And then there's another one on HBO. And so I figured let's talk about it. So it's from 1980 and it's really interesting actually. Like I got sucked into the story. I thought it was pretty interesting. So we're going to be doing a lot of reading because there's this writing that just sucks you in, right? Did you like it, Bella? It's so good.
I loved it.
Like it sucked me in. Yesterday I read part 1 and then today I read part 2. We're not going to read the whole thing. I like took out like chunks because it's really long. So I took out parts and tried to get the most important stuff. So so it's not too long, but it's really good and it tells the story. But first, let me just give you a summary of some of the
Jealousy sent you
research I did.
Sweet.
Oh, thanks, Jealousy. Hulu gift card, email delivery. Oh, you're too sweet.
You are.
And he did a headstand for Linda.
I can't wait to watch.
I know. It was so awesome. And his dog just sat there and watched. Your dog was just like,
Which dog?
Batman was just, and he did it in his Batman socks.
Okay.
Batman socks. We can play it later. We'll play it later for our ending. Plus, you go, watch it.
We need to go there and show him love.
We will. Yeah. We'll play it after. So, he has his Batman socks. His dog's just sitting there. Which dog it was that Batman? He's just sitting there and just chilling, just all patient, waiting. And Batman has like a little sign for Linda, R.I.P. with a little, it's cute.
If anything, God forbid, ever happens to us, can you do a headstand for us too?
Knock on wood, yeah, but
I'm Julianne.
Oh, Michelle. Hi, Julianne. That's my mom's name. Isn't that
Julianne?
I mean, her middle name's Ann, so I
just thought it was Mama Julie.
Her name's Julie, but her middle name's Ann. Everybody has a middle, right? We don't call her Julianne, she's Julie.
Well, I'm going to call her
but we call her Julie,
I'm going to start calling her Julianne.
But nobody calls her Julianne.
I'm just going to be like, hi, Mama Julianne.
Okay, you can. I mean, it is her full name. Anyway. I feel like am I being mean to you, Bella? Mm-hmm. Why do I feel like I got like an attitude or something? Anyway, all right, let me start reading. So just the summary real quick, and then me and Bella will do our famous reading.
So famous.
We are. That's what we became famous for.
We're totally.
As a team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree.
So don't
bring back 2021. Here we come. Bring it on back.
Yeah. Was it 20? Yeah. Okay. So let me just give you some of just like the basics on this here. I just kind of like went to, okay. So Candy Montgomery and her husband, Pat Montgomery. So in the early 1970s, Pat Montgomery was an electrical engineer at Texas Instruments. He married Candy Wheeler, who worked as a secretary at the time. Candy and Pat moved to Wiley, Texas in 1977 with their son and daughter, where they became friends with Betty and Alan Gore. It was a church service that first brought Candy Montgomery and Betty Gore together, and it was the church that led them to their times of closeness and eventually to their mutual hatred in Betty's brutal death. So, and these aren't my words. I have the sources like Texas Monthly, Dallas News, Star Telegram. I don't know. Okay, so where are we? Okay, so the Methodist Church of Lucas was more than most places of worship, an institution controlled by women, the center of Candy Montgomery's universe, almost from the day in 1977 when she moved to her dream house in the country. By then, their marriage had settled into a routine. Pat was providing everything Candy had ever expected from him, including 70,000 income from his work. And I think they said it back then it equaled like I think they said like 200,000 or 300,000 around there a year for so they were well off from his work on sophisticated military radar systems at Texas Instruments. Candy did not mind taking care of the children in their house, but Candy said she was bored crazy and she and her husband had been arguing more than usual. One argument happened when Candy brought home A-plus papers from her writing class and her husband just glanced at them. His insensitivity infuriated her and led to harsh words. To Pat, they were arguments over nothing, but to her, they represented everything wrong with their marriage. That's what led Candy to have a 10-month affair with Alan Gore. She wanted fireworks amid her very boring life with Pat. Candy Montgomery killed Betty Gore with an axe. Pat stood by Candy's side throughout the trial, and she was acquitted after the jury determined she acted in self-defense. So it happened on Friday the 13th, June 1980. That was also the week in 1980 when the first Friday the 13th movie opened, featuring axe-spattered Gore. The Gore's house was the 13th from the corner. From the time of the death until the body was discovered took about 13 hours. From the day of the death until Montgomery was arrested took 13 days. And one more, on the kitchen table, Defebaugh was the he was the crime scene investigator for the case. So on the kitchen table, Defebaugh found a blood-flecked newspaper open to the movie page and an ad for The Shining, a movie where Jack Nicholson's character famously hacks through doors with an axe. I think about it, Defebaugh said, about the Gore crime scene every June 13th. Steve Defebaugh has been the Collin County Fire Marshal since 1996. In 1980, he was a crime scene investigator sent to the Gore house. So it was 41 wounds with a 3-foot axe. And the body was in bad shape, he recalled. Of the 41 wounds, 28 were to the head. The death site remains a brick home on an unremarkable suburban street. Betty and Alan Gore lived there with their 2 young daughters. He had been away on a business trip that Friday and finally had neighbors visit the house when he couldn't get his wife on the phone. They found a baby crying in the crib and what was left of Betty Gore in the utility room. The investigators had clues to work with: bloody footprints, a fingerprint on the Gore's freezer, and a small community of people who knew a lot about each other's whereabouts. Candy was arrested just 2 weeks after evidence of fingerprints and footprints at the crime scene were analyzed. 6 days after the killing came a new headline: female friend of husband sought in an axe killing of Wiley housewife. After months of hinting at alibis and alternate suspects, Montgomery's lawyer opened with a bombshell: a self-defense plea. Don Crowder, arguing his first criminal case, apparently shocked the prosecution too. The state presented its case proving that Montgomery killed Gore. Crowder and Montgomery offered no argument, but Montgomery did take the stand. She and Alan Gore had an affair that ended months before, she said. She had gone to the Gore's house that day because Lisa Gore, 5 years old, had been on a sleepover with Montgomery's daughter and needed a bathing suit. Betty Gore confronted Montgomery with a question about the affair and came at her with the axe. Montgomery said in a struggle with a larger woman, Montgomery gained control. I hit her, and I hit her. She fell slowly, almost to a sitting position. I kept hitting her and hitting her. I felt so guilty, so dirty. I felt so ashamed. Crowder brought in a psychiatrist who said that an offhand remark by Gore during the fight, an incongruous shh, had triggered a repressed memory from when Montgomery was 4 years old and fueled the rage behind the frenzied series of blows that obliterated Gore's face. And we'll go more into detail on it in the next part. I mean, later on, where me and Bella are reading of which I think we'll give our thoughts after. Okay, so the jury acquitted Montgomery in less than 5 hours. The number of wounds was never an issue, juror Alice Doherty Rowley told the news. We determined it never had a bearing on the verdict at all, whether it was 1 gunshot or 1,000 whacks. The verdict stunned the community, which had condemned Montgomery for infidelity and generally didn't buy the self-defense argument. The brutal death and the trial and acquittal of Montgomery became the singular focus of the community at the time. Wiley was a town of 3,700 people. Hold on a second. Okay. After the trial, Candy Montgomery said she wanted to get all this behind me and be normal again. According to the Dallas Morning News, or according to, how are you guys hanging in there? Is everybody following pretty good? Bella, are you bored?
Not at all.
Okay.
Insane.
Are you following it?
Yeah, and we're coming up on the anniversary tomorrow.
I know. I was thinking, oh, is it tomorrow? I didn't even think. I was thinking it's close because of June 15th, and I was like, wow, that's close to when summer disappeared, but that is tomorrow. Wow, we didn't even plan that on purpose, huh? Or did we? Or did you know? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. So the family moved to Georgia and Candy got certified as a family counselor. Little is known about the family's whereabouts today. Some reports suggest that Pat and Candy Montgomery divorced a few years later. I think that's what a lot of them say. So maybe, what did you find out when you were looking into it? Did a lot of them say that they probably got divorced or no?
That Pat and
Candy after the trial and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, I don't know why this is. I didn't realize that said. Oh yeah.
But this was a really good article, so I trust this writer. These two writers. It was like two guys, right? Yeah.
Wait, this isn't the one I sent you the link.
Oh, this isn't? Okay.
No, we haven't got to that yet. This is just my summary of like, this is a bunch of different, this is probably like 3 or 4 different ones. I just got like little stuff from all of them. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So we haven't got to that yet. Okay. So where am I? Defense. And on that one, it says they divorced on the one. So I think it says some reports suggest. So I don't know. Anyway, defense attorney Don Crowder, who succeeded in getting Candy Montgomery acquitted, was a prominent Collin County lawyer and the city attorney for the town of Allen for 22 years. He met Candy at the United Methodist Church of Lucas, and she turned to him when the police found evidence linking her to Betty Gore's murder. At the time, Crowder was a civil lawyer who had never handled a criminal trial. Crowder, the defense attorney, took his own life in 98 after losing his brother in 97. Alan Gore quickly remarried and moved away. But that marriage ended in divorce, and his daughters were raised by Betty's parents. The Montgomerys have stayed out of the news. We always come back to what we know, and what Candy knew was a childhood of instability that consisted of constantly moving and possibly not forming a lot of deep attachments. When she finally got what she thought she wanted with Pat, maybe it just didn't feel like home. Evidently, Pat stayed by her side throughout the entire ordeal. After moving to Georgia, Pat and Candy divorced. So this article said, because like I said, I got them from apparently Candy returned to her maiden name of Wheeler and Pat seemingly disappeared. So that, I think they did. Okay, so that's kind of just like everything. Do you want to add anything to like just the facts of the case that you...
So far, no. I mean, are you guys following along so far? We're going to get into the meat and potatoes of it and break it down.
Now we're starting the pieces of writing from a book that's really good. That's me and Bella are going to go back and forth and read. That was just, like I said, just like facts I was getting from a bunch of different sources. Now this next is from Jim Atkinson and John Bloom. It's from January 1984. It's from a book, taken from a book. What was it called?
Is it The Love and Death?
Love and Death, yes. I love it. I feel like it's written really good. So that's what we're going to read next. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to put that up on the screen when we read it. What do you think? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I have to, because you're going to be reading it too. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, but nothing else you want to add, Bella, or anything? Or?
No, I'm good.
What? Okay. I want to see something though. I want to see if I could share.
When we were doing Darley, though, you guys, like, this is literally like 13 minutes away from Roulette.
Yeah, there you go. Show them, like, I should show that. Do you have that?
No, maybe I do, but it's on my phone. I just screen sent it to you. Like, I just went, because it's all like in the suburbs of Dallas.
Yeah. So that was what, Darley was what, 96? This was 80. So what was it, like 20 minutes or 25? Let me see. What is it?
Yeah, like super close. It's just down one road, basically. And it's just interesting because they all work in the like Texas Instruments and like what Darren did for a living, and like these people that were able to make a good living and be young, in suburbs of Dallas. It's interesting, right?
Yeah, make a pretty good living. Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't make that connection. That cool.
Isn't
Hey,
that
Red Lake
weird?
One. Hey, Anna Brown.
Hi, Anna
Okay.
Brown.
So you
Oh, you
guys, hopefully you
did?
guys get sucked. Oh, you did? Wait, what book, Anna? Is it the Love and no, is it something else? Love and Death book? Or what? I hope this sucks you in like it did me. Like these last 2 days, I read part 1 yesterday and part 2. It just, I don't know why it like kind of sucked me
Look
in.
what Aaron said.
Was that Canny ended up working as mental health? I know. Isn't that crazy? It's kind of scary in a way.
I think it's very fitting.
I guess like who could well, I don't know who could help the most. There's somebody that's but has she learned like if it depends. Do you believe her? Like, was it self-defense or is she? Well, let's talk about it after. What you guys think once you hear everything? If you believe if it really was self-defense or is she lying? I don't really know. I guess I'm leaning one way, but I don't really know for sure. I mean, I have one. I'm stronger feeling about one way or than the other. What about do you? Do you have a? I have a. Should I wait to say our opinion? Should we wait till after?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a stronger feeling one way or the other?
I mean, I don't, but I wonder how like how each show, because you know how like the staircase was and how the original documentary.
Wonder how they do portray it in the series.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think about that. Don't tell us. Whoever watched it, don't tell us because let's do a poll. Don't say it, you guys. Please don't say it in the chat. So we're going to read this and then we're going to do a poll and like discuss it before you say how they portray, even though just because they portray it one way doesn't mean it's true. But just so before we get like a bias in our head or whatever. I didn't even think about that. Wonder if the HBO portrays it the same way as the Hulu. Do you think?
Right. Like, what if one makes it look like she was doing it in self-defense and one makes it look like,
that would be kind of crazy.
It would be good because you can see like both perspectives.
That would be you're right. That would be better actually to have. Wow, that's a good point. They should have like an alternate ending where like one they do, you know what I'm saying? Like that scene where they do one where she's self-defense and one not, where they have two endings. You could watch it and then you could, I don't know.
That's kind of how like the new HBO Michael Peterson, I mean, they kind of presented like 3 different ways of how it could happen and acted them all out. So, like the owl theory, then the Michael did it theory, and then she fell down the steps theory. So it was like interesting.
That was a really good. It definitely was interesting. We never did do that. Remember we were talking about because isn't there something else coming out? Oh, a new with the Michael Peterson.
No, because it's out right now. Like Thursday was the last episode of that. The finale.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm like so far.
You don't watch
do it, and then it's no. But remember, we were talking about it. But I'm always behind. Like, never do it in time. Are we talking about the same thing? Right?
Well, you were just really busy with debt.
Oh, that's right. And I don't regret that at all. Like that was a much needed break. Like I am glad I took that break because now I'm all like ready to go and refreshed and like ready to go for true crime. So yeah.
And it was an amazing case. A really great case. So
it definitely was. All right. So you ready here?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now my palm is itching.
Oh, that was the itch? That wasn't a...
Yeah. No, I mean, it started, but then I'm like, well, this itches.
You're like, hold on. Hold on a minute.
Why is it when your palm or like that part of your foot itches that you can't satisfy the itch? Because it's like, and you know that spot where you just can't get to it? There's a spot in my foot and a spot in my hand that does that.
Use your teeth.
Hey, Lauren. What? Use my teeth? I don't know if that would work.
I don't know.
All right.
Good.
So let's do this here.
Okay.
Darn it. Okay. I'm going to put it up on the screen so we can read it together.
Incoming money. Yeah. Michelle Clifford says you're going to get money.
I hope you're right. All right, let me get to this part. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is Texas Monthly. It's from the book Love and Death. Death in Silicon Prairie, Part 1, and then there'll be Part 2 too. By Jim Atkinson and John Bloom. Okay, so let's add this. Can you read it? Because I made it as big. I made it pretty big. You think you'll be able to read it? Oh, shoot. You will, Bella? I don't know. If I made it any bigger, it might cut off the...
Yeah.
Sure? Okay, you think everybody else can too? I could do it like this. Which way do you like better?
This is probably good.
It looks like it's so far over because I'm not used to seeing like...
I know. Where are we? We're down here.
Yeah, so I'll have to make sure I keep it up above our heads. So when you're reading, I'll have to make sure I look, because I see the whole screen. Okay. All right, so let's start. It just kind of jumps right in, So try to just close your eyes and
go to sleep.
Listen to... No, don't go to sleep, but try to really hear the story, because I'm going to do a poll, and I really want to know if you guys think this is self-defense, and it's a pretty interesting story. Okay. So, without exception, each man who saw the lifeless body of Betty Gore the night of June 13th, 1980, reflexively averted his eyes, even those who already knew what lay beyond the utility room door were never bold enough to look more than a moment before closing the door. Few looked at the... Let me take some water real quick. Hold on. Do you have your drink ready, Bella?
Yeah.
Okay. Few looked at the head at all. The sight was too horrible. So the early reports as to the manner of death were conflicting and usually wrong. It was a small room, no more than 12 feet long by 6 feet wide, made smaller by the presence of a washer, a dryer, a freezer, and a small cabinet where Betty had kept toys and knickknacks. In one corner were a brand new toy wagon and a child's training toilet. Closer to the center of the room, where the freezer stood against one wall, were 2 dog food dishes and a bruised book of Mother Goose nursery rhymes. The book had a white cover which stood out in sharp relief because, in the harsh overhead light that glared off the harvest gold linoleum, it was one of the few objects in the room not coated in blood. Her left arm was the first thing they noticed after opening the door. It lay in a pool of blood and fluid so thick that the arm appeared to be floating above the linoleum. To get a look at her face, the men had to walk around the ocean of red and black to get closer. What they saw was even more unsettling. Her lips were parted, showing her front teeth, the mouth fashioned into a half grin. Her hair radiated in all directions, a tangled, soaked mass of glistening black. And Betty's left eye was wide open, staring down at the gaping black craters in her arm. As to her right eye, she appeared to not have one. The entire right half of her face seemed to be gone. A few feet from Betty's head and half concealed under the freezer was a heavy, wooden-handled, 3-foot-long axe. The police who investigated Betty Gore's death at first could not believe that anyone as small as Candy Montgomery had the physical strength to wield that axe so brutally. Even as their suspicions about her grew, they found it hard to believe that this pretty, vivacious, utterly normal suburban housewife could make such a vicious attack. She was a loving mother, a devoted wife, a churchgoer, and everyone's friend. And she wasn't putting on a cynical act. She really was a normal and likable and good as she appeared, except for one dark corner of her soul that even she did not know about. Candy Montgomery would always be able to remember the precise moment when she decided she would go to bed with Betty's husband, Alan Gore. It happened on the church volleyball court on a late summer day in 1978. Candy and Alan both tried to make a play on the same ball and collided. It was a harmless bump, really, and went unnoticed by everyone else on the court, but for Candy, it brought a revelation. Alan Gore smelled sexy. For several weeks, she had been talking abstractly to friends about having an affair. Candy wanted something to shake up her very boring life with Pat. She was explicit about the kind of affairs she was interested in. Transcendent sex, as she put it. I want fireworks. She had known Alan for only 9 months, but it seemed much longer. He was a lot like her, active in the church, a lover of kids, the outgoing, personable half of a mismatched couple. Water. A tiny, insistent voice in the back of Candy's brain kept telling her that Alan Gore was as anxious to go to bed with her as she was with him. It had begun with little things. Alan seemed to joke with her more than he joked with the other women at church. He teased her about her volleyball skills, and every once in a while, he'd give her a sly wink as though they shared some little secret. After choir practice, the two of them would occasionally chat a little longer than necessary or loiter in the parking lot while the others were getting into their cars. The flirting was subtle. Sometimes it was so much like Alan's natural friendliness with everyone that Candy doubted it was a real flirtation. But then Alan would do something that was unmistakably designed to get her attention, and she would start wondering all over again. As the weeks went by, she started fantasizing about sex with the man who smelled so nice. Candy was almost 29 years old and sexually frustrated. She was totally honest with herself about that. How many more years did she have to find out what she was missing? Not many. She decided to do something about it. She got her chance one night after choir practice. Alan was already getting into his car when Candy spotted him. She strode up to the passenger side and opened the door.
Alan, she said, leaning into the car. I want to talk to you sometime about something that's been bothering me. Oh, he said. How about right now? Candy slid into the seat beside him. She didn't even look at him. I've been thinking about you a lot, and it's really bothering me, and I don't know whether I want you to do anything about it or not. Alan, a little confused, said nothing. I'm very attracted to you, and I'm tired of thinking about it, and so I wanted to tell you. And with that, she jumped out of the car, slammed the door, and hurried across the parking lot. Alan felt shocked and flattered and a little ridiculous. He was also surprised and secretly pleased that it was Candy. Even though she wasn't what you would call a classic beauty, she was one of the most attractive women in the church, in his opinion, and she was certainly the most fun to be with. Alan thought Alan thought about Candy a lot over the next few days, and he wondered whether she would say anything else the next time they were together. A week or so after the choir practice, Alan saw Candy again. It was after another church volleyball game. Alan and Candy stayed to clean up the gymnasium, and afterward they walked out to the parking lot together. When they reached her car, Alan said, Now, what was it you had in mind? Get in, said Candy. Alan slid into the passenger seat. Would you be interested in having an affair? She asked. Despite all of his mental preparation, Alan wasn't prepared for something that direct. I don't know what to say, he said. I don't think I could, Candy. I don't think it would be a wise thing to do because I love Betty. Once, when we were living in New Mexico, she had an affair that hurt me a lot, and I wouldn't want to do that to her. Candy was surprised to realize how much Alan had thought about his answer. That's fine, Alan. I love Pat too. I wouldn't want to hurt him either. Betty just got pregnant again too, and it would be unfair to her, especially since I don't feel the same way about you that I do about her. So I probably couldn't do something like that. Okay, Alan, I was just putting the option out there because of how I felt, and it's up to you to decide. I don't want to hurt your marriage. All I want to do is go to bed. I won't mention it again. Alan leaned across the seat. Alan leaned across the seat and softly kissed Candy's lips. Then he quickly got out of the car. One thing Alan Gore always believed in was that marriages are forever. That's why when his sexual relations with Betty started to become routine and unimaginative, he cast about for explanations. One solution Alan considered briefly was a program called Marriage Encounter. Some friends of his from church, Joanne and Richard Garlington, had gone to a Dallas motel one weekend for a special marriage encounter session in which several couples talked about their marriages and tried to strengthen their commitment. Alan had to admit that the Glaringtons had seemed to be happier in the months since they were encountered, as they put it. I encountered, as they put it. So one evening, Alan tentatively suggested to Betty that they give Marriage Encounter a try. Oh, why do we need something like that? She said. I have so much to do already. Don't you think there's something? Do you think there's something wrong with us? He could tell she would be upset if he said yes, so he just dropped the subject. On Candy's 29th birthday, the highlight of her day was a phone call that came completely out of the blue. Hi, this is Alan. I have to go to McKinney tomorrow to get some tires checked on the new truck I bought up there. I wondered if you'd like to have lunch, to talk a little more about what we talked about before. It had been 2 or 3 weeks since the last time they talked in the parking lot outside the gym. Those weeks hadn't been easy for Candy. She felt foolish after throwing herself at him and then being so calmly rejected. Alan and Candy met at an auto repair shop in McKinney. Alan broke the ice right away by surprising her with a birthday card. On the front, it read, "For the last of the red hot lovers." She opened it to find a small plastic bag of red hots inside. It was the kind of hokey gag card that Candy loved, and she was instantly touched. They got into her car and drove to a quaint little tea house where they talked about everything except themselves for the better part of an hour. Then, after the meal was cleared away and they began to sip their coffee, Alan said, "I've never done anything like an affair before." "I haven't either," said Candy. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about not wanting to get emotionally involved. That would be very important for me." "Me too, Alan. I just want to enjoy myself without hurting myself or anyone else." Alan called Candy again while Pat was at work. They chatted more about the risks of having an affair, their fears of doing something that would ruin their marriages, but they also talked about their mutual attraction and were obviously excited. "You know, if you don't go to bed with me pretty soon, Alan, then you'll never be able to live up to the expectation I have of you in bed," Candy said, giggling. "I know," he said, not laughing. "I thought of that."
The next month consisted of strategy sessions for what must have been the most meticulously planned love affair in the history of romance. At the end of November, Candy came up with the best strategy of all. She invited Alan to her house for lunch. It was really Alan's decision to make. He was so damned indecisive that she was starting to think he wasn't aggressive enough to do this anyway. As soon as Alan walked into the Montgomery house that day, he broke into laughter. For the first thing he saw hanging above the room was a huge piece of butcher paper. On it, in magic marker, Candy had made two columns. The column on the left was headed whys, the column on the right said why nots. When she said Well, let me get some water. Wow. When she said she was inviting him over to discuss the pros and cons, she wasn't kidding. She also knew from their last phone conversations that Alan was leaning toward a decision not to have an affair. The cute little sign eased the tension. Alan was much more concerned about one of the why nots farther down the list, the possibility that they would become emotionally involved. We need to think about what we're getting into, said Alan. Alan, as far as I'm concerned, this is just for fun. I'm not serious about it. It's just a companionship thing, and we shouldn't be afraid of it. Whatever happens, we'll do it for a while and then it'll be over. I'm afraid that I might get emotionally involved. We just won't let that happen. We'll always wonder if we don't do it, she said. I know, said Alan. It's up to you, Alan. I know I can't. Wait, it's up to you, Alan. I know I can do it. I know I can act in an adult fashion and not take unnecessary risks. I made up my mind. So just tell me if you want to do it. They didn't make the final decision that day, but after Alan left, Candy thought to herself, how much farther can you go? They had already made too big a deal out of something that should have been more natural. And it wasn't as though Alan Gore was her fantasy man or anything. A few days later, Alan called again. I've decided I want to go ahead with it, he said. Still, it didn't happen right away. There were ground rules to be established, logistical problems to be worked out. The affair was to be conducted properly. Candy even made a list of rules one day so they could discuss them on the phone. If either one of them ever wanted to end the affair, for whatever reason, it would end. No questions asked. If either one became too emotionally involved, the affair would end. If they ever started taking risks that shouldn't be taken, the affair would end. All expenses, food, motel room, gasoline would be shared equally. They would meet only on weekdays while their spouses were at work. Candy would be in charge of fixing lunch on the days they met so that they could have more time. They figured they would need all of Alan's 2-hour lunch. Candy would be in charge of getting a motel room for the same reason. They would meet on a Tuesday or a Thursday, once every 2 weeks. That was because Candy was free only on days when her little boy attended the Playdate preschool at Allen Methodist Church. She took him each Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to 2, but she figured that she would need 3 out of 4 of those school days. For all the other errands and church and school duties in her hectic schedule. Finally, having checked off every possible precaution, like astronauts getting ready for a launch, they set the date for the affair to begin December 12th, 1978. Candy spent the morning getting ready. First, she dropped off her daughter at school. Then she dropped her son at the Playdate preschool. When she got back to the house, she allowed herself about an hour to fix the special lunch she had planned. Searching for a motel convenient to Alan's office, she found one right on the freeway, just 2 or 3 minutes away from Alan, called the Continental Inn. It took a few minutes to check in because the girl behind the counter insisted on seeing her driver's license and getting the money in advance. Candy paid out $29 of cash she had gotten at the supermarket the day before and then filled out the registration card with her real name. The girl gave her the key to one of the upstairs rooms set back from the highway. Candy drove the station wagon around back and started unpacking.
Candy slipped into her favorite peekaboo negligee. It was a soft pink color and almost, but not quite, sheer. It was long, falling all the way to her ankles, and it showed off her body while hiding the slightly too large thighs that she had, I guess. She looked at herself in the mirror. For a mother of 2, she didn't look bad. Then she sat in a chair by the window and waited. On the way to the motel, Alan discovered that he wasn't quite as brave as he had thought either. He worried that perhaps the only reason he was doing this was to please Candy. He had to admit that Candy was sexually appealing, and yet he didn't want to be full of anxiety all the time. He didn't want to feel the way he was feeling now. But once he opened the door and saw Candy smiling and seductive in her pink nightgown, Alan felt a surge of bravado. What the heck? Thought Alan. I'm here and I'm going to do it. After eating their lunch, Alan said to Candy, well, "Are you just going to sit there?" Candy smiled. "Yes." Alan walked around the bed and gently touched her on the shoulder. All of her nervousness dissolved. The sex was gentle and conventional and satisfying. It was also brief. Afterward, Candy insisted they both take showers before leaving. "So you won't smell like me," she said. Candy felt well pleased. Despite Alan's apparent inexperience, she hadn't had to fake her responses much at all. And he did show great promise as a lover. Alan was just as satisfied and was looking forward to the next one. After the first meeting at the Continental Inn, it was obvious that both of them would want more. So, a week later, just before the Christmas holidays, they arranged by phone for a repeat performance. When she got to Richardson, she noticed a smaller and sleazier motel across the freeway from the Continental. Always a practical shopper, she figured a motel room was a motel room, so why not get something cheaper than $29? Here, for the last days of 1978 and for the first 3 months of 1979, Alan and Candy made glorious love every other week, dined on taco salad and homemade lasagna, and sipped cheap red wine out of plastic cups supplied by the management. Afterward, they would recline on the bedspread and rest their heads on tiny foam rubber pillows and talk about their lives and their spouses and their children and their mutual love for their church. Then go stand in the tub and turn on the faulty shower attachment and wash off the smell of each other. Finally, they would gather up their belongings, kiss each other lightly on the lips, and go back to their normal lives, closing the door behind them. Later, when Alan looked back on his whirlwind lunch hours with Candy Montgomery, he would think less of the sex than of the relaxation he took there. Those 2 hours with Candy were often the only time he didn't feel responsibility for other people's emotions. The awful burden of making Betty happy. In the confines of a room at the Como Motel, Alan was a man with no past and no future, able to accept Candy's unconditional affection. She showered him with it in a way that was simple and guiltless. Alan had never been with any other woman except Betty in his life. This experience was revitalizing in a way that his life with Betty hadn't been in a long time. The affair made Candy feel alive again, too. She was excited about the sex and the intrigue and the adventure of it all. And she continued to see Alan every 2 weeks, like clockwork. Unfortunately, after the third or fourth time at the Como, she started to have second thoughts. Her doubts weren't spurred by any feelings of guilt. They started, in fact, when she realized that sex with Alan Gore probably wasn't going to get much better than it already was. The first 2 or 3 times, it had felt good, but there had been virtually no improvement, and she suspected that the man was not capable of fireworks, no matter how much she coached him. The more serious problem was that Candy feared she was beginning to like Alan too much. Sometimes she even thought she loved him. That was too risky. As time went on, they seemed less like lovers and more like best friends. During one meeting, they decided to forego sex altogether because they wanted to spend lunchtime talking. Candy could even talk to Alan about Pat. He was that understanding. Betty was 7 months pregnant and would need lots of attention as the day grew closer. In early June, Alan told Candy he thought they should discontinue the affair for a while so that he could be available for Betty at all times. And Candy agreed completely. Alan loved that about Candy. She understood things like that. Betty would have disagreed and whined. She was more than willing to suspend the affair for a while. The last visit to the Como had confirmed her earlier fears. The sex was not that great. The whole thing was becoming a hassle. She missed the magic of those first few weeks.
Bethany Gore was born in early July, and Betty seemed to perk up for a while, as babies often do. Bethany brought her parents closer together, especially during the week just after she was born. The feeling didn't last long, though. Now that Alan didn't need to be on call all the time, there was really no reason for him to put off the affair any longer. But when he and Candy renewed their lovemaking at the Como in late July, it seemed different, lackluster. Friday, she met Alan at the Como hotel. It was late when he got back to the office that night. Betty wanted to make love. The Gores hadn't had sex since the baby was born. But the odd thing about that night was that Betty was so aggressive. It wasn't like her. Alan couldn't remember her ever taking initiative before in all the years they had been married. But Alan had been with Candy a long time that afternoon, and he was spent. He couldn't think of an excuse. He just said he didn't feel like it. Betty began to cry. She was embarrassed and humiliated and deeply hurt. It would have been different if she were in the habit of making advances, but to have the very first one rebuffed was too much for her. She jumped to conclusions. Alan didn't love her anymore. He hated her because she was fat after having the baby. Alan tried to reassure her, but nothing worked. She had been rejected and she couldn't stand it. On Monday morning, Alan phoned Candy. I need to talk. When can I meet you and where? They arranged to meet for lunch, and Alan poured out the whole story of that Friday night. I'm afraid of hurting Betty. I think maybe the affair is affecting my marriage now. And if I want to get my life back in order, I have to stop running between two women. But what about when I suggested we end it? Remember what you said then? You said, no, you have to see this through to the end. And just because something happens once doesn't mean it'll happen again, and things to that effect. Now that you can't perform with Betty one time, suddenly you want to end it? That's a double standard. I'm not saying we should definitely end it. I'm just saying we should think about it. I don't want to hurt Betty. Later that month, Alan satisfied an old ambition of his and quit Rockwell International to join a tiny new company called ECS Telecommunications. The next time Alan talked to Candy, he said that because of the new job and the additional work, he wouldn't be able to see her as much. Candy was upset. She was beginning to fear the inevitable end of the affair. Candy was clearly having second thoughts about breaking off the affair. She had grown too dependent on Alan's kindness. I love you so much, Alan. I don't know if I could make it if we break up, she said. Betty wants to go to marriage encounter now. I asked her once before, but she always said she didn't think we needed it. I think maybe it'll do us both some good. They met a week later. She brought a picnic lunch and they went back to the park in North Dallas. Alan did most of the talking. He told Candy all about Marriage Encounter and what it had done for them. We learned a lot about each other. I don't necessarily feel different about you, said Alan, but I do feel strongly that I want to give my full resources to my family. The relationship with you is taking away some of the emotional involvement and energy that I could direct toward Betty and the kids. I'm not sure how long this feeling will last or what will happen, but I know I don't want to interfere with it. What does that mean for me? Alan suddenly had no desire to go to bed with Candy again. I'm not sure I can deal with not seeing you, said Candy. After making the strongest argument he could for breaking up, Alan still couldn't bring himself to say the words. They left the issue hanging, but agreed to meet again the next day. When they did, Candy came directly to the point. Alan, you seem to be leaving it up to me, so I've decided. I won't call. I won't try to see you. I won't bother you anymore. They both cried a little because they knew it was over. Alan was secretly relieved that she had made the decision, not him. That way he didn't have to bear the guilt. He hadn't planned for it to happen that way. That's just how it worked out. A short while later, Candy and Pat attended a marriage encounter session. Though they enjoyed it, they did not have the kind of life-changing experience that Betty and Alan had had. But both couples headed into the summer of 1980 with a sense of peaceful happiness about their lives. That would soon change. So now it was part 1, so now this is part 2. All right. Thanks, Michelle. All right, you two became a YouTube member. Oh, I thought you were a member, but thank you again, or thanks for joining.
Awesome, Michelle.
What's that?
Awesome, Michelle.
Oh, I thought you said I'll send Chell. I thought you said something else. All right.
Okay. Yeah, fast forward a few months later to the day of the murder. The toe on Candy's left foot was bleeding profusely. Candy stared at it and fished in her purse for the keys to her station wagon. She glanced down at her lap and felt a sudden chill in her legs. Her blue jeans were soaked with water. The antiseptic smell of fabric softener flooded her nostrils, and for a moment she thought she would be sick. Candy's toe began to throb. Oh God, it hurts. Cut my toe on the storm door, that's what happened. How can it be wet? Oh God, it hurts. No one will know. You couldn't have done it. No one will know. The white station wagon wound through Collin County backcountry. At last the landscape was familiar again. Around the expensive yard was a corral of white horse fence. The station wagon nosed into the double garage and stopped. Nothing has changed. Out of these clothes, calm, dry, and clean, normal. She ran upstairs, stripped off her blouse and blue jeans as she entered the bedroom. She wiped the blood from her third toe and wrapped a band-aid tightly around it, flinching as she felt how deep the cut was. I did it on the storm door. We never fixed that storm door. She took her shirt into the kitchen and placed it in the sink. She poured the detergent and turned on the water. Oh no, the smell again. She started to retch, but quickly regained her composure. She left the blouse soaking in the sink and went upstairs to find a pair of blue jeans the same shade as the ones she had just taken off. She took a quick shower and washed her hair. As she did, she noticed an open cut at the hairline on the right side of her forehead. She dried her hair with a towel and then went to get another Band-Aid. But the springy hair around the wound kept the bandage from sticking. Finally, she gave up, wrung out her blouse, put on the new blue jeans, threw the old ones in the washer, and waited while the dryer dried her blouse. The last thing she did was replace her rubber sandals with a pair of blue tennis shoes. She laced them up tightly to keep pressure on the toe bandage. She was ready to pick up her children and Betty Gore's daughter Elisa at church. The children's puppet show in the sanctuary was coming to a close when Candy pulled into the parking lot. We're taking Elisa with us tonight to see The Empire Strikes Back. That reminds me. I'd better go check on the kids. As Candy headed for a classroom, it crossed her mind that she might be limping. She made a special effort to walk straight. In an empty room, she found a mirror and dabbed the cut near her hairline. Even after the blood had been staunched, she could feel it running down her forehead, exposing her. When Candy left, one of the women noticed something odd. Candy Montgomery, who always wore rubber sandals in the summer, was wearing a pair of blue tennis shoes. The afternoon passed in a fog. Candy bundled the three children into the station wagon. They were an odd comfort. They kept her occupied, kept the dragons at bay. At home, after she told Elisa to get ready for her swimming lesson, Candy phoned her husband at work. Pat, we just got home from Bible school and wanted to make sure you get enough money at the bank because Elisa is going to the movie with us. The kids nagged about it after you left this morning, and so I promised them I'd ask Betty if Elisa could stay another night. But then I had to go to Betty's to pick up Elisa's swimsuit, and we got to talking, and I lost track of time. And then when I went to Target, I noticed my watch had stopped and missed the whole Bible school program. Uh huh, said Pat. He had just returned from a Texas Instruments office picnic and was anxious to make some computer runs. Betty said Elisa could spend the night. Listen, honey, that's fine with me. I'm about to go to the bank now. Pat, would you happen to know where Alan is working today? Alan Gore? No. Why? It's not important. We'll meet you in the parking lot about 15 to 5. Pat hung up and thought, what was that all about?
Alan Gore had left for St. Paul late that afternoon, but Alan wasn't enjoying this particular trip, and for a familiar reason. Betty couldn't stand to be left alone, even for one night. The trip would be easier on her because of the vacation they were planning. A week from now, they would be in Europe without the children for the first time in 4 years. And last night, she had been positively radiant, describing the upcoming trip as a second honeymoon. Then this morning, she had broken down again, but she and Alan had a good talk and parted happily. Alan promised to call her from the airport. The sound of his voice would reassure her that she had been positively radiant, describing oh, yeah, positively radiant, describing the upcoming trip as a second honeymoon. Why do I feel like I accidentally I don't know, maybe that's right. Anyway, on the way to his gate, he stopped at a payphone and dialed home. The phone rang 7 or 8 times, so he hung up and dialed again. When he got no answer, he assumed that Betty was taking her afternoon walk with Bethany. Alan sat on the bed in his room, going back over the day, wondering if he had forgotten something Betty had said that morning. He called his house again, let the phone ring 15 times, then got an operator to dial the number. Still no answer. Alan called Richard Parker, his next door neighbor, and the real estate agent who sold them their house. When Richard answered, Alan could hear small children in the background. Richard, this is Alan Gore. Sorry to bother you, but I'm out of town and I've been trying to get Betty on the phone. I think the phone must be out of order. Would you mind knocking on the door over there just to see if she's home? Yeah, okay, partner, said Richard. A little peeved at the imposition. I guess I can run over. Wearing only slacks and an undershirt, he slipped out the front door and hurried across the Gore lawn in his bare feet. He had always thought Gore was a weird guy, quiet and unsociable. He had sold the Gores that house 3 years ago, and he didn't know them much better now than he had then. Alan was one of those guys who always kept his yard so neat. Quiet guys usually had neat yards. Richard rapped hard on the door at 410 Dogwood and waited for an answer. He rang the doorbell, he waited a few more seconds, and then sprinted back across the grass. No answer, Alan. She must be out. Okay, Alan said. Thanks for checking. I'll call her later. Now Alan was starting to worry. On an impulse, he dialed the Montgomery's number. Candy answered after one ring. Candy, this is Alan. Have you seen Betty? Oh, Alan, where are you? I'm in Minnesota on a business trip. I've been trying to get Betty, but no one answers, and I thought you might have talked to her today. I saw her this morning when I went to pick up Elisa's swimsuit. Did Betty seem all right? She was fine, said Candy. She did act like she was in a hurry for me to leave. Do you know where she might be? Maybe she went to a friend's? No, she wouldn't go out this late. It scares her. Well, I'm sure there's nothing wrong. Candy's voice was full of concern. When I went over to pick up Elisa's bathing suit, she was okay. I remember she was sewing. And wait, hold on a second. All right, sorry. I remember she was sewing and we just talked for a while. And she gave me some peppermints for Elisa and told me how she wouldn't put her head underwater unless she got a peppermint afterward. and I took the peppermints and left. Is Elisa there now? Candy called Elisa to the phone. Alan inquired about the swimming lesson and asked whether her mother had mentioned going out that evening. Elisa didn't remember anything, so Alan told her to have a good time and be polite to the Montgomerys. Then Candy came back on the line. Alan, is there anything I can do? I'd be happy to go over to the house and check on them for you. No, that's all right. I'll call the neighbors. A few minutes later, Alan went downstairs to the motel restaurant. He returned to his room around 10 o'clock, well past Betty's bedtime. Still no answer at home. Alan called Richard again and asked him to see if Betty's car was in the garage. Richard went as far as the chain link fence between the two houses and peered into the garage. Then he went back to the phone and said, Yeah, Alan, there's only one car there, and the garage is open and lights are on. That's strange, Alan said. He considered the possibilities. It had to be some emergency. Perhaps the baby was sick.
He called the Plano hospital and the Wiley police. They had never heard of Betty Gore. Alan felt helpless. He needed to talk to somebody with a calm, level head and a sympathetic ear. He called Candy Montgomery. One car is gone. The garage door is open and the lights are on, Alan said. She never leaves that garage door open. Has she called there or anything? Oh, Alan, no, she hasn't. Let me go down there and check the house, or let me check the hospitals for you. No, I just wanted to make sure you couldn't remember anything else. I'll get the neighbors to check again. Don't worry about Elisa, Alan. We have her, and she's fine. For the third time, he dialed Richard Parker's house. But this time, he didn't waste words. Richard, I'm really worried about her. Please go back over there and check all the doors and the garage again. If she had to leave in a hurry, maybe she left a note somewhere. Richard sighed. He didn't like the responsibility and was a little frightened by Alan's panic, but he went all the way around to the back fence, into the alley, and up the Gore driveway. He was startled to see two cars in the garage. The Volkswagen Rabbit was pulled up so far that he hadn't been able to see it from the fence. Richard walked into the garage and tried to open the door to the utility room. He could see a light under the door, but it was locked. Something about the house, the burning lights, the open garage, the silence disturbed him. He left the way he had come. Something's wrong, Alan. I don't know what, but something's wrong. Both cars are there and the lights are on, but nobody answers. Richard, said Alan, I want you to go and get in that house any way you can. Richard didn't say anything for a moment. Okay, Alan, I guess so. Alan called Jerry McMahon, a computer analyst at Texas Instruments who lived across the alley from the Gores. Jerry, something is wrong over at my house. I've been trying to get Betty, but nobody answers. The lights are on and the doors are locked. Would you get a flashlight and go over there and see what you can find out? Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Jerry stepped into a jumpsuit and his house shoes and padded down his back driveway with a flashlight. In Alan's garage, he knocked loudly on the utility room door but got no answer. Then he walked into the backyard and tried to force open the sliding glass door, but it wouldn't budge. He continued around to the front of the house, peering in the windows as he went, and rang the doorbell. But still there was no sign of life. Back at his own house, he told Alan, the lights are on in there, but I can't see anything wrong. Jerry, there's something very definitely wrong. She's probably just out with friends. No, she's not with friends. I've already tried that. Get in that house and see what's wrong. Take the windows off, force the doors, whatever it takes. As soon as Jerry told his wife what was happening, she grew frightened and insisted that he not go over there alone. So Jerry called Lester Gaylor, a barber who lived next door to the Gores on the other side from Richard Parker. 2 minutes later, the two friends met in the alley behind the Gore house. When Richard walked out into the yard carrying a big silver ring full of house keys, he was startled to see Jerry and Lester. "What the hell's going on?" Jerry asked. "I don't know," said Richard. "Gore just called and said to get in the house. I've got these realtor keys. Let's try 'em on the doors." The three men walked up to the Gore driveway. While Richard tried his keys one by one on the utility door, Jerry and Lester tried to force open the sliding door again. None of Richard's keys worked. Richard went to the front door to try his realtor's keys again. As he placed the first key in the lock, a chill ran down his spine. The door swung open. He had not even turned the key. "This door," he said, turning to Jerry and Lester and stepping away from it. "This door is not locked." The two men joined Richard on the porch, but for a moment, no one made a move to go in. Richard stuck his head in the crack the open door had made. "Betty?" he said, then louder, "Betty?" Finally, Lester pushed open the door and the three men entered. From the doorway, Richard could see that Bethany was in her crib, half sitting, half lying, her legs folded under her face blotchy and red, her hair tangled and dirty. Her skin was stained with her own excrement. She had obviously been there a long time. Richard quickly gathered up the baby, cradling her head against his shoulder. He turned back to his house to call the police.
As Richard left, Jerry and Lester went on to search the rest of the house for Betty. Finally, Lester made his way through the kitchen to the utility room door. "Oh my God, don't go any further." Lester shut the door quickly, and in the stunned silence of the moment, it was difficult to tell whether he was talking to Jerry, to himself, or to someone on the other side of the door. "She's dead." Lester had not seen the body. He hadn't seen anything but blood, thick, congealed reddish brown oceans of blood glistening on the tile of the utility room floor, and he didn't want to look any further than that. From the dining room, some 15 feet away, Jerry saw the look on Lester's face and heard the shock in his voice and walked tentatively toward the utility room. As Lester moved away, Jerry cracked the door open and without getting any closer, looked in. He saw only a glimpse, but it was enough. He shut the door. She's blown her head off, he said. Lester went to the telephone on the kitchen counter, thinking we could call the police. But as he reached for the receiver, the phone rang. For an instant, Jerry and Lester froze. Wow, that went way over. I didn't realize. Go back. Shoot. Hold on. All right. Lester picked it up. "Hello? This is Alan." He had called because he couldn't wait any longer. Lester hesitated. Jerry sensed what was happening. "Is that Alan?" he asked. Lester meekly handed him the phone. "What did you find?" Alan's voice was tense and shaky. "I'm afraid it's not good," said Jerry, finding no words to describe what he had just seen. "But don't worry, the little one is okay." "The baby is okay?" "Yes." "What about Betty?" "I'm sorry, Alan." "What happened?" Jerry had to say something. "I don't know for sure." "What do you think?" "It looks like she's been shot." "How?" "We don't have a gun." "I'm sorry, Alan. I wish I had another way to say it." After a silence, Jerry said, "What about Elisa, Alan? Do you know where she is?" "Yeah, she's fine. She's fine." "I wish there was something else I could say, Alan." "We'll stay here and explain everything to the police." "Okay, thanks, Jerry." Alan was stunned and so disoriented that he temporarily forgot where he was. Not knowing what else to do, he called Candy Montgomery again. Pat was a little peeved when the call came around 11:30. He and Candy had just started making love. "What timing," he said, as Candy reached immediately for the phone. "Candy?" Alan's voice was distant and flat. "I have some bad news." Betty is dead. Oh, Alan, Candy's voice broke. What happened? It looks like she's been shot. The neighbors found her. What about Bethany? Alan didn't even hear the question. I know that there have been some things bothering her lately, he said. I know she's been upset and she was 2 weeks late with her period, but I never thought she would. Alan stopped and Pat noticed tears forming in Candy's eyes. What can I say, Alan? Candy was almost whimpering. Please keep Elisa for a while and don't tell her what happened. I want to tell her. Oh, Alan, are you going to be all right? Yes, I'm okay. I've got to go. Candy hung up and began to sob. Pat put his arm around her shoulders. Is she dead? He asked. I don't know. I didn't ask. How can you ask something like that? But she must have been because the neighbors found her. A gun, she thought, a suicide. It's all right now because it happened with a gun.
Alan Gore wondered whom he should call next. He stared at the wall and his mind went blank for a moment. Then he saw Betty as he had seen her for the last time that morning, as he would see her for months to come. She had walked out onto the driveway with Bethany in her arms. As Alan pulled away, she raised Bethany's little hand and waved it at him. And for the first time that day, Betty had smiled. Really smiled. Candy Montgomery slept for 3 hours and then got up alone to fix breakfast. Pat and the children and Elisa Gore were still sleeping. The kids didn't know yet, of course. She and Pat had stayed up talking about Betty for a while, but when Pat was unable to get any information from the police, they gave up and lay staring at the ceiling. They tried to sleep. Pat fell asleep first, but Candy kept thinking about the last phone call from Alan. After telling them that Betty had been shot, he had called back to give them his flight schedule. Before hanging up, he said something else. I've talked to the police and I've mentioned that you were over there, so they'll probably be calling. It was the first time Candy had thought about it. Candy went through the rituals of a housewife, making the bed, putting away a few toys. She called softly to the children to get up, and they limped down the stairs for breakfast. Pat went outside to mow. The kids finished eating and ran out to play. Then the phone call started. Candy, have you heard about Betty? Just that she was shot. Well, don't turn on the radio where Elisa can hear. I haven't heard it, but I understand it's all over the news. Oh, is it? Candy felt a twinge. She stared straight ahead. Thank you for letting us know. The phone rang again almost as soon as Candy hung up. Since it was Saturday morning, everyone was home, listening to the radios and trading information by phone. Candy, do you know Betty's dead? We heard last night. It's so awful. The police just left. They say she was murdered with an axe. The dread descended again. An axe? It must have been some very sick person. Then she fielded more calls, many of them from shocked church members who naturally called the woman who always seemed to know what was going on. Who could have such a diseased mind to use a weapon like that? If they ever catch the person who did this, there's nothing they could do to him that would be punishment enough. I just hate that Betty suffered. They say they have a bloody footprint. The bloody footprint was fast becoming the sole detail of the crime known to every person in Collin County.
What the hypnotist learned. Candy, by her own report, the last person to see Betty alive, became the main suspect in the case in a matter of weeks. The police questioned her several times, but her version of the day's events and of her relations with the Gores was always airtight, or it seemed, until Alan Gore admitted that he had ended in an affair with Candy 7 months earlier. That gave police a motive for killing, what they had been unable to fathom when they questioned the bright, attractive housewife. They arrested Candy Montgomery and charged her with murder. For a while, Candy denied the charges. After she was released on bail, Candy stopped reading the newspapers and watching the TV newscasts. But Pat was heartened by the way everyone stood by him, no matter what new evidence was leaked to the press. The church had been overwhelmingly supportive. Scarcely a day went by that they didn't receive at least a half a dozen greeting cards and have a nice day cards and thinking of you cards, some of them awkwardly worded, all of them well-intentioned. People who hadn't written or seen the Montgomerys in years were visiting Hallmark stores all over America, trying to find messages suitable for a family awaiting a murder indictment. Candy wrote replies to all of them. Candy had hired a lawyer she knew from church, Don Crowder, to represent her. Crowder, a partner in a small firm with Attorney General Jim Maddox, usually handled personal injury work. He had never been close to a murder case before, and suddenly had the hottest one in Texas on his hands. As he began to delve into the case, he realized he was going to need help prying the memories of that horrible June day out of Candy. He enlisted the aid of a Houston psychiatrist, Dr. Fred Faison, who was a good-humored, fatherly charmer with a huge nose, bushy eyebrows, and a sweet, intelligent mouth. He called himself a River Oak shrink. He dealt with a lot of Valium-addled socialites and impotent millionaires. Dr. Faison didn't mind if people knew that either. It was the only advertising he had. Candy and Crowder flew to Houston, where Faison administered a battery of tests. After the psychiatrist pronounced himself hooked on the case, he agreed to try to break into Candy's memory through hypnosis. When Faison arrived, he offered a cheery greeting and then ushered Candy into his spacious office. Candy felt comfortable around Dr. Faison. She found him businesslike yet playful at the same time. It was Faison's voice that got Candy. Soft, deep, resonant, the source of his power and his art. Faison was a psychiatrist, but he was also a first-rate clinical hypnotist. On this day, he began with a speech about the need to be completely open and level. Because if Candy wasn't, or if she didn't think she could be, the interview was over. No, there's no question about that, she assured him. All right, he said, I want you to start and tell me about what happened that day. Candy reluctantly began with Vacation Bible School and ended up telling Faison everything about the morning of Friday, June 13th. More than she had told Crowder, more than Pat knew. Then they talked a long time about control and anger and Candy's deep-seated unconscious fears. After a couple of hours, when Faison was sure that he had won his patient's trust, he decided to try hypnosis. Candy was remarkably susceptible. She went under quickly, and her hypnotic trance was deep. Faison's smooth, soft voice carried her far under, until her body was totally relaxed. Then he took her back to Betty Gore's utility room. When I snap my fingers, he said, you will begin re-experiencing and relating that time to me as you go through it. 1, 2, 3. He snapped his fingers loudly. Begin. What's happening, Candy? She said nothing. She looked worried. What's happening, Candy? You could tell me. He waited for a response that didn't come. What thoughts are going through your mind? I'm going to count to 3. When I reach the count of 3, your thoughts and feelings will get stronger and stronger, stronger and stronger and stronger. So strong you will have to express them and verbalize them. 1, 2, stronger and stronger, so strong you will have to get them out. 3, let them out. What's that you're feeling, Candy? Hate. Okay, you hate her? Express your feelings. Stronger and stronger. Candy whimpered. You hate her, repeated Faison. I hate her, she whispered. You hate her. You hate her. Say it out loud. I hate her. Louder. I hate her. She's messed up my whole life. Look at this. I hate her. I hate her. When I count to 3, I want you to back up in time again, Candy. I want you to go back in time to where she's shoving you. You're in the utility room, and she shoves you. Just relax. 1, 2, 3. Candy whimpered and moaned softly. What is happening? Go through it. The feeling is very strong. 1, 2, 3. She's pushing you. Candy moaned again. What's she going to do? What's happening? Tell me. What is it? Candy tried to say something. What? Louder. I won't let her hit me again. I don't want him. She can't do this to me. The feelings are getting stronger, said Faison. Stronger. Candy squirmed on the couch but didn't respond. Faison made her go deeper into the past, asking her to back up to the first time you ever got mad. Do you recall ever being that mad before? Do you recall it? No response. When you were little, let's go back in time. Let's get in the time machine and go way, way back in time. Back when you were little. 1, back in time. 2, 3, the time machine stops. How old are you, Candy? 4. 4? Tell me about it. What made you so mad? I lost it. What did you lose? Race? You lost the race? To Johnny. Do you like Johnny? He beat me. What did he say when he beat you? No answer. How did you feel? Mad? Furious? What are you going to do? I'll break it. Break what? The jar. How did you break it? I threw it against the pump. Are you scared? Candy nodded. My mother took me to the hospital. What did your mother say? Shh. Did what? Shh. What did she say? Shh. When I count to 3, your feelings will be stronger and stronger. 1, 2, 3. What are you seeing? I'm afraid. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of being punished for your anger? Is that what you're afraid of? It hurts. She rubbed her hand across her head. Your head hurts? Where does it hurt? I'm scared. I want to scream. When I count to 3, you can scream all you want to. 1, 2, 3. She shivered but made no sound. Just kick and scream all you want to, said Faison. It's okay. It's okay to do it. Candy shrieked, an eerie wail that could be heard through 2 walls of Faison's office. It's all right, he said. Just kick and scream all you want to. Candy was breathing hard. How did you feel when she said, shh? I'm afraid and I'm going to kick and scream. When I count to 3, you're going to kick and scream all you want to. 1, I can't. Yes, you can. 2, 3, kick and scream all you want to. She screamed even louder. It hurts, she yelled, and then screamed again. As soon as she stopped, Faison thought it was wise to bring her out of the trance. It would take more interviews to sort out the details of Candy's childhood trauma, as well as of the terrible and fatal struggle between Candy and her friend Betty. But by the end of that first session, Faison had done what Crowder had asked him to do. He had found, in the memory of her mother's perhaps ill-advised discipline, at a painful moment, the trigger of Candy Montgomery's rage.
By October 1980, Crowder was ready for the trial. When it started, he stunned everyone with the declaration that his client would plead self-defense. And when Candy was called to the stand as a witness, seats for the day's proceedings were hotter than season passes to the Dallas Cowboys games. In the courtroom, Candy looked sober and matronly. Crowder had been explicit about what she was to wear. Her hair was short and wavy. She wore earrings and a loose-fitting blue dress, dark and subdued, with a hemline well below her knees. Over her shoulders, she draped a white woolen sweater. As Crowder questioned her about her children, her upbringing, her community and church activities, her friendship with the Gores, Candy gave short, functional answers. She sounded like a stuffy schoolmarm, over-enunciating her sentences and banishing all emotion from her voice. 2 months before the trial, most of the facts of the case, what had actually happened inside the utility room, remained unknown. Dr. Faison had changed all that with 3 long, wrenching hypnosis sessions. And after each one, Candy had repeated the events of the 13th to Crowder. She wasn't expecting Candy until noon, so when Betty responded to the polite knock that morning, she looked annoyed. No doubt she had just sat down to rest for the first time that day after putting Bethany into her crib for her mid-morning nap. She'd probably hurried to the door so the noise wouldn't wake the baby. Betty held a half-finished cup of coffee, and from behind came the muffled sounds of the Phil Donahue show. Since she hadn't intended to go out that day, she was dressed for housework: tight-fitting red denim shorts, a yellow short-sleeved pullover, and sandals. She opened the front door halfway and peered out. "Betty, I have a special favor to ask you." Candy was not long on salutations, but no one minded her abruptness. The friendliness in her eyes and her smile was greeting enough. "The girls wanted Elisa to go see the movie with us tonight, and I told them that if it's okay with you, it's okay with me. And I'll be happy to take Elisa to her swimming lessons to save you the extra trip." "That's okay," Betty said. "Come on in." "I thought it would be," said Candy, "and so I just ran down from Bible school to get Elisa a swimsuit." The two women walked into the living room, which was dominated by a large playpen in the middle of the floor, with toys and children's books strewn around it. Betty switched off the television and went into the kitchen. "Want some coffee?" "No, thanks." Candy sat next to the sewing machine, where she noticed that Betty was making something out of yellow cloth. Betty came back and sat on the other side of the small table. She seemed tense, as though she were anxious for Candy to leave. "So where's Bethany?" Candy asked. "Bethany got up very early today, and she just went back to bed." "Oh, no," said Candy, frowning. "I wanted to play with her." "Candy, if you're going to take Elisa to her swimming lesson, remember that she doesn't like to put her face underwater," Betty said. "So when she does put her face under, be sure you give her peppermints afterward. That's the reward we use." Betty was loosening up a little, as though the small talk was a welcome interruption to the morning chores. They chatted a while, then Candy glanced at her watch. "Well, it's getting late and I have some errands to run. You want me to get Elisa's suit?" Betty didn't stir from her chair. Her face was blank, her eyes unfocused. "Candy," she said calmly, "are you having an affair with Alan?" Candy was stunned. "No, no, of course not," she answered a little too quickly. Betty squinted, and the steelness crept into her tone. "But you did, didn't you?" "Yes," Candy said quietly now, "but it was a long time ago." Candy was still, and her eyes avoided Betty's. Betty said nothing, staring past Candy's head, transfixed, sullen. "Did Alan tell you?" Candy looked into Betty's face for some sign. "Wait a minute," Betty said. She rose abruptly from her chair and walked through the open door of the utility room and out of sight. Candy wondered how recently Betty had found out. Candy also realized, with a quiet panic, that she had nothing to say to her. After a few seconds, Betty reappeared in the doorway, her face tense. She was clutching the curved wooden handle of a 3-foot axe, the kind used for chopping heavy firewood. Her stance, oddly enough, wasn't very threatening, since she held the axe clumsily, away from her body, the blade pointed at the floor. Candy was more worried about what Betty would say more than what she would do. Candy stood up but didn't move from the chair. Betty? Well, don't see him again, Betty said. It was an order. Under the circumstances, Candy said, I think I'll just bring Elisa home and drop her off right after Bible school. No, said Betty harshly. I don't want you. I don't want to see you anymore. Just keep Elisa and take her to the movie because I don't want to look at you again. Bring her home tomorrow. Betty laid the axe against the wall just inside the living room and walked past Candy into the middle of the living room. I'll get a towel from the bathroom, she said over her shoulder. You get Elisa's suit off the washer. All Candy wanted to do was to get out of the house because she suddenly had a sick feeling in the pit of her stomach. As she took the swimsuit off the washer, Betty reappeared behind her. Don't forget Elisa's peppermints. The tone was softer now, more reassuring. The two women met in the utility room door, and Betty handed the towel to Candy. That's okay, Candy said. I have some peppermints at home I can give her. Betty reached into a bowl of candy by the fireplace. I'll give you a few of these anyway. As Candy stuffed the swimsuit and the towel into her handbag, Betty gave her the handful of candies, and she dropped those in as well. When Candy looked up at last, Betty was staring at her, but her expression was no longer one of rage. Her face was full of pain. Candy thought of how Betty would cry after she left, and she felt a stab of conscience. Both women hesitated as though something important would be settled by the tone of the parting. Reflexively, clumsily, Candy placed her hand on Betty's arm. When she spoke, her voice dipped with pity. Oh, Betty, I'm so sorry. All at once, Betty's rage erupted. She flung the hand from her arm and shoved Candy backward into the utility room. Betty grabbed the axe resting by the doorway and rushed in after her, holding it like a weapon diagonally across her chest. The blade was pointed at the floor. You can't have him, Betty screamed, crowding Candy. You can't have him. I'm going to have a baby, and you can't have him this time. Betty, don't, said Candy, putting her hands on the axe as Betty moved in. This is stupid. I don't want Alan. For a moment, neither woman moved. They gripped the axe firmly, their eyes locked. Then Betty began to jerk at the axe, trying to control it. Betty, don't do this, Candy pleaded. Please stop. I've got to kill you, Betty spoke slowly with impersonal finality. As they grappled for control, Betty wrenched the axe violently and jerked it upward. The flat side of the blade slapped against the side of Candy's bobbling head. Betty, what are you doing? Candy stepped backward, further into the utility room, and grabbed her head with her hands. Betty, stop! Candy looked at her hand. It was streaked with blood. Then she looked back at Betty and saw her raising the axe blade over her head, almost to an 8-foot ceiling, as though to smash her with a single powerful blow. Candy screamed at the top of her lungs, a high-pitched, pleading sound, and jumped sideways into a cabinet, spilling books and knickknacks onto the floor. Even though Candy had no place to hide, Betty was between Candy and both exits. The axe missed her entirely and landed harmlessly on the linoleum. The blade made a dull thud, bounced once, and sliced a gash in Candy's toe. Just as it did, Candy grabbed the blade, wrapping her fingers around the thick, heavy metal. Her pleading now turned to anger. She said no more. The exaggerated blow and the drawing of blood unloosened the surging fury of both women. As soon as Candy grabbed the blade, Betty started shoving and jerking the handle, but Candy held on tightly, and the struggle degenerated into a wrestling match. Betty thrust and jabbed the axe, and Candy's body kicked at her legs, kneed her in the thighs. Candy responded by trying to jerk the handle out of Betty's hands. From a distance, nonsensically, came the frenzied, high-pitched barking of dogs. Betty moved her hands up the handle, trying to get leverage. Finally, she bit Candy on the knuckle. With her head bent, Betty was off balance, and Candy shoved the axe against Betty's body with all her might. Betty reeled backward and fell against the door of the freezer. Her feet slipped a little on the linoleum. Candy didn't hesitate. As Betty struggled to regain her balance, her body facing away, Candy brought the axe up with both hands and brought the blade down on the back of Betty's head. The blow resounded with a hollow pop, like a cork coming out of a wine bottle, and then blood gushed across the back of Betty's neck. Candy dropped the axe, jumped away from Betty, and felt time shift into slow motion. Betty began to slump toward the door, blood pouring out of her skull, but she continued to struggle to her feet. Terrified by the blood and the certainty that she had just killed her, Candy bolted for the living room door. But an eternity seemed to pass as she tried to reach it. She finally put her hand on the knob, started to pull, and Betty slammed her body against the door. Candy looked up and saw blood spreading across the side of Betty's face. Betty picked up the axe again, like some nightmarish vision of a corpse that stalks its killer. Tears spurting from Candy's eyes. The barking of dogs, wolfish and primitive, grew louder. "Let me go, Betty. Please, Betty, let me go." Betty's voice came from 1,000 miles away. "I can't." Candy grabbed the axe again, and the women began a macrame dance around the utility room, once again jabbing and pushing with the axe that hung between them. Betty's head dripped blood until the linoleum was slick with crimson. They circled endlessly, one losing her grip, then regaining it before she could be shoved away. At one point, when Betty bumped against the freezer again, Candy removed a hand from the axe and grabbed the knob of the door to the garage. She pulled the door open a few inches, but Betty managed to shove her away, slam it shut, and push in the lock on the knob. Their shoes squeaked on the sticky red floor. They kicked each other as they jockeyed for position. Their shoes squeaked on the sticky red floor, and above the steady electrical hum of the washing machine, they grunted and breathed heavily. Betty grabbed Candy's hair with one hand. Then Candy slipped on the blood and went down hard directly in front of the freezer. As she did, Betty tried to raise the axe, but growing weak from the loss of blood, couldn't get it up in time. Candy tackled her by one leg, and Betty sprawled forward, almost on top of Candy. By the time they were upright again, the axe was between them, and they fought over it from sitting positions. Candy shoved Betty hard, jumped to her feet, and lunged at the garage door, but the knob wouldn't turn. She pivoted as Betty moved toward her. "Betty, don't," she said. "Please let me go. I don't want him. I don't want him." Betty's eyes flared in the final paroxysm. But her reply was eerily restrained. Placing one finger to her lips and gripping the axe with the other hand, she breathed from somewhere deep in her throat. "Shh." The susurration echoed through Candy's subconscious like a psychic alarm. She grabbed the axe and used it aggressively, pushing the handle against Betty's legs. Through a window came the hysterical canine sounds, desperate now. The barking and howling of frightened creatures. Candy jerked the axe and then leaned backward with all her might, wrapping both hands around the blade. The handle was covered with blood, and when Betty tried to pull just as hard, as though in a tug of war, her hand slipped off and she plunged backwards into the room. She wouldn't stay down, though. She lunged toward Candy, but Candy had time to raise the axe and bring it down with all the adrenaline fueled strength she could gather. There was no pity or remorse or conscience now. Candy destroyed Betty out of pure, unadulterated hate, anger over what this woman had done to her, rage that now her life might be changed because of this stupid woman. Candy stopped at the point of utter exhaustion. There were, in all, 41 chop wounds. 40 of them occurred while Betty Gore's heart was still beating. The huge courtroom was silent. Candy Montgomery's voice had barely risen above a traffic noise from the square. Crowder continued his questioning, but Candy was lapsing into her monotone again. While describing the struggle, her cheeks had trembled and she had sobbed silently. But now she recovered her composure. Crowder feared that her testimony seemed too rehearsed. "When you went over there," he said, "did you mean to kill her with that axe?" "No." Crowder picked up the axe and placed it on his right hip. Time for a bootleg play, he thought. "But you did kill her with the axe, didn't you?" he said as he walked back toward the witness box. "Yes. This axe right here. Don't make me look at it." He grabbed the axe with both hands, brought it into full view, and thrust it towards Candy's face. "Don't!" "You killed her with this axe here, didn't you?" Pat Montgomery could hear Candy scream in the witness room 30 yards away. Candy burst into tears and seemed to rise out of her chair. "You killed her with this axe right here, didn't you?" "Yes," she said, so he would take it away. One of the women jurors dabbed at her reddened eyes with a tissue. Another squirmed in her seat, offended by the cheap trick. She too wondered why Candy seemed so cold and impersonal, but she also felt an odd sympathy towards her. Her story hung together. It didn't seem whitewashed. But how could you be sure? She wanted the prosecutor, Tom O'Connell, to be tough, to pry open every part of the story, to find the one lie in that would make it all come apart. Crowder led Candy through the rest of her day and had her admit all the cover-ups and evasions of the following week, as she had tried to avoid detection. After a 10-minute recess, O'Connell drew a deep breath and plunged in. This is what he had been afraid of. Candy was intelligent, attractive, direct, and handled herself well. She used the best possible explanation, the "I freaked out" excuse. He would probe at her story, trying to pick out the discrepancies. There are prosecutors who froth at the mouth like mad dogs and wave their arms and work themselves into a frenzy of moral. But O'Connell wasn't one of them. He stuck to his original plan to expose the cracks in her story. He asked Candy to repeat her account of what happened in the utility room, but with much less detail. She didn't hesitate, and there were no contradictions. She even added small details like the location of the peppermint candies in a glass bowl on a shelf next to the fireplace. It was a kind of thing a bald-faced liar wouldn't know. O'Connell's questions wandered from place to place, from the utility room to a friend's divorce and back to the cover-ups. He emphasized that a year-old baby had been left alone by this woman who prided herself on her motherhood. He pointed out Candy's repeated lies to her friends, and then, abruptly, he stopped. You may stand down," said the judge. Candy's testimony ended on a Friday. The following Wednesday, the jury heard the final arguments and reached its verdict that same afternoon. Candy Montgomery was found not guilty.
All right. Good job. So what do you guys think? Wasn't that a good story? Well, it's a true story. That's the crazy thing. Man. So let's what do you guys think? Oh man, see, as you were reading it again, or as we were reading it, then I started to kind of like go the other way again, because I'm like, wait, she was hypnotized, and like, that was the memory that came out, that was self-defense when she was under. So I don't even know what to think, because if you think about the story, she was done. They were done with the affair, right? So it does kind of make sense that if they were already done, but if Betty just found out and Betty had this thing, that it could have been Betty that had all this rage. You know what I'm saying? Or not rage, but this not realizing, that it was really over. They in their heads are like, oh, it's over. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's what do you think? I don't know.
Is that what you did? You go back and forth on that, and then
yeah, because when I first started, before we read, because I already read this, but before we just read it together, I was leaning more towards that. No, it wasn't self-defense, but then I just came to some revelation. I'm like, man, wait, this and that, and so I just came to some conclusions that now I think maybe it was self-defense.
I mean, it'd be really nice what we talked about. Hopefully we can do that. We can find the transcripts and see what they heard.
But see, the only thing that gets me is, why didn't she just come and tell people right away? If it was self-defense and she attacked her, why didn't she come clean right away? And why, if that really happened the way she was showing, why didn't she just let it go when her back was towards it? But it's because the rage, she had that repressed. Yeah, that goes back to the whole repressed. She just lost it in the moment. So I guess they maybe, dude. I'm dying now to know how they portrayed it. Don't tell us yet, guys, because I'm going to do a poll. So what are you leaning toward, Bella?
I don't know. I'd like to see the transcripts, because I just find that odd that, she wouldn't come forward.
Maybe scared, though, because, I mean, think about it, though. Sometimes people are dumb. It's like sometimes when there's an accident and they try to cover it up, or some people are stupid. They don't think, they hesitate. They're like, oh, my God, they freak out and they think the best. Oh, well, I'll just, you know what? I'll just not say anything, or I'll do this. And they make stupid decisions. But that doesn't necessarily always mean it's because they're guilty. You know what I'm saying? It's because but yeah, I mean, it does raise a concern. Why didn't she, though? But it could just be because she couldn't think it out. But go ahead. What?
It's just so interesting that a jury was able to understand that, like, she had this trigger with the shh, and we're like, even, what is it, 16 years later, in kind of the same kind of community, they can't let things go with Darlie, like about her fake boobs and her blonde hair. And it's just kind of like,
yeah, because she was like a totally different type of a person. Oh my God,
she was a God-fearing Christian who went to church and was loved by everybody. Yes.
And think about it, even her physical, though, glasses, like really just like the physical aspect of what she looked like and stuff comes into play, because Darlie with her fake boobs and blonde, and like she was definitely, that came into part and everything, is that crap too, which is that part I don't like, how they use that as like a determinant of her guilt, because she's this type of person. No, I mean, so yeah, man, just a whole different type of physical and wow. Because that was 1980, Darlie was 96, so
16 years is like a lifetime to change ideas in, a certain area. And no, it didn't, But it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's interesting.
If we get the transcripts, would you guys like us to read them? Maybe we'll go through and pick out some of the, we'll have to see how long. Because I would like to see, what else would we be interested in the transcripts? Let's think. She's not denying she did it. So I think the most important part was that part where she shows the repressed memories and then her memories of it. So I wonder what else would really make us...
like Alan's testimony, what he has to say.
Yeah, True, that's
if
true.
they asked Pat and like some of the friends, I just want to know, because everyone always says like she was really, Candy was very well loved and was like a gregarious, like really fun person to be around. Betty was kind of the opposite. She was a real like stickler for, which is interesting that Candy's the one that made the like pros and cons list of having this affair, which is supposed to be spontaneous, and you're like,
It's so
make it a
funny. It's so
list.
weird. They plan it out
So
beforehand. When usually it happens. Oh shoot, and then maybe you could plan it after. But like to plan it all ahead of time, it was just such a unique situation. I feel like,
right.
as far as I'm sure it happens a lot more than we even know behind. I mean, that probably has happened before. Not this whole situation, but a planned affair maybe. But like I haven't heard much about planned affairs. Do you think it happens a lot, like this plan thing?
Yeah, with two Virgos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if there's like two Virgos, it's going to be like very planned, I think. But first time, like you meet somebody, you well, hopefully you never have an affair. That's atrocious, right? Like, hurts.
Why not just get a divorce? Well, I guess back then divorces weren't as common, because nowadays if you're gonna go the work of planning it, it'd be less work just getting a divorce, probably,
or just telling your spouse like, our sex life sucks and I want, what she said, fireworks. So either you guys like work it out or you agree or whatever, like something, you make an informed decision together. I mean, but that's like, how can you be so rational about making a list but not rational about, it's just bizarre. Yeah, I am never.
But not rational about what? What are you saying?
But not like rational about, this is an issue, this is going to hurt people, this isn't the way you go about it, is having an affair, like, so you can be rational about like the pros and cons of this, like where's the electricity?
I mean, she wanted I know, but but see, I get it, because if she's but
she's a weirdo.
But Gailey, but I get that, but like if you're trying to say like, oh, she's guilty, they even admitted like she had these repressed memories that she made her lose it, and that's what made her that and she just like went to this fit of rage. So they're not denying that, but it still could be kind of in self-defense. But if you look at it like that, it's really not self-defense then, because she had a time where she could have just left. Like when Betty like fell under, right? Like she could have just like, okay, I'm leaving, and she would have been fine. So how, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, maybe she would need to hit her like that one time and then she gets away. Why did she have to kill her? I know the rage, but then how is that self-defense? Because she was in the power then, right? But I guess then she dropped it, and then I guess it kind of went back and forth. I don't know. And in the moment, I guess that's the way it happens. You can't think, you just got to act, though. Sometimes that's your life. If you think and then you turn your back, and then she could, you never know what would happen. But go ahead, what?
No, and she said it was like, no, I mean, but that's what she said. Like, it was a fight till the death. Like, one of them, that's how Candy said, is like, one of us is going to walk out of here alive, and it's going to be me, But it's just interesting that, like, a lot of things are interesting about it, like on the surface of like, right, this whole bloody thing, heads bleed a lot, Candy got struck in the head and Betty's struck in the head, and there's blood on axe, and they're like fighting over it, blood. How is it not slipping more, right? How is there not more accidents? How's it just her toe? And there's, like, wouldn't you have like, maybe they're just not talking about it now, but I don't
know. But that's a good point. Like that could have happened the way Betty said, but the fact that maybe she really deeply did really want to do it too. So
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? That's a good point. How do you say your name? Say that, Bella. Why can't I figure out how to say that?
Aesthesia.
Aesthesia.
I don't know if I'm saying it right.
No, that's probably right. Hey, RR. That was fun. I enjoyed reading that, because that was like really, I guess reading things that are like really interesting the whole way through, I don't mind, but like, you know what I'm talking about, the other. But yeah, that was good. I don't know why, I just thought, I don't know, it just sucks me. It sucked me in again. Like I'm just like sitting there like just, I don't know. It's wow. So okay, so let's do a poll, guys. How should we word it? So do you
We
think it
love
was self-defense, basically, right?
Yeah, from what if you guys have more knowledge, then use that too. But if this was the first time you'd heard about it, use the knowledge that you learned tonight. Yeah. Let us know if you think, in your opinion, from what you've heard about this case thus far, if you think it was, if she got a good deal, you know, like, was it self-defense, or do you think that it was murder?
I'm just going to ask it though, because it's a yes or no. Was this
Yes.
self-defense, or do you think this was self-defense?
Yes, she billed her 41 and 40 while her heart was still beating. Like, she endured 40.
Mm-hmm. And but that goes more into the self, you know what I'm saying? Not that shit was an overkill where she just kept, because maybe, you know what I'm saying? That actually looks better on Betty's, or what's her name? Candy's part. And then they said, what, 28 to the head, right? I think it was 28 to the head or something like that, like an outrageous amount, just all at the head. Okay, so
yeah, her right side of her face was gone.
Yeah, her eyeball, remember, her eye was gone. Do you think this was self-defense? Is that worded right? Do you think this was self-defense? Yeah, that's right. That's how I worded it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go, guys. Let's see. I don't even know what to expect. What do you think? Before I press this, what do you think is going to win? Like, what's going to happen?
I'm not going to say, because I don't want to influence anyone.
Oh, you're true. I have some. Write it down.
Write it down.
Yeah, hold on. Let me write it down.
God. I don't.
I just think from what I think, what you guys would vote, I think I'm going to write. And then
I don't have anything to write it down. I'm going to.
Oh, we'll trust you, I guess, right?
I guess.
Or write it in a private chat. I'll write it in private chat too.
Okay. Like the percentage?
No, just what's the majority.
Oh.
I think it's going to be that. But from what I think the group is going to say. Not what I think, but that's what I think that.
That's what I think too. And I'm going to
go mine's the same way, but you wrote it different. But yeah,
I'm going to say this.
Huh?
I'm going to do the percentage.
Oh, you're going to actually do a percentage? Wow. Well, I'll just because I don't even know what to put now since you already put, I don't know. But yeah, that's a good number. I bet you're
well, maybe I'll be totally wrong. We'll be surprised.
Well, hold on. Let me put its percentage. Let me guess.
I love it. It's so awesome.
So mine is the same way as you. So whatever I put the percentage, it'll make sense. Shoot. I was like, that would be like close to what I would think too.
Do it.
I'll just
do the same number.
Yeah, that's like a perfect number, actually.
It is?
Like, yeah, because it's not quite the one, but it's like, I want to put this.
It's not quite.
I can't. Why? Here, I'll just put this. I don't know. All right. Why is this not working? But I like your number, but I got to put something different. Just
okay.
Right?
Island Girl's like, did you put the poll up?
Yeah, here we go. It's up now. It is. We should have bet something. I put it. It's not working.
Well, I don't know.
I could never see it. I can never vote. It never lets me vote. But if you went in under your name on YouTube, you could. But for some reason,
that'd be cheating.
It never gives me the option.
I feel like I shouldn't do that because I feel like that would be cheating.
Not really, though, because you're a part of the group. You know what I'm saying? And so am I. So if I could, I would. Because we are a part of it.
That's why.
And you just put what you really think. You know, don't say what you feel, though.
Bet, but then I would
from one person. You're just one person. It would be fair, but it won't let me even do it.
You want me to vote for you?
Wait, did I put 80? Look how I wrote that. I scripted. Is that
where? In private?
On the poll. It showed up. Look at the poll.
I don't see it anywhere. Where do you even see the poll?
How did the poll show what I did in the private. It added it on to the end of the poll. It says, do you think this is self-defense? 8-0. You guys don't, the 8-0, I don't know where that came, well, I know where it came from, but just ignore that.
I don't even see, great, I have to open it, I feel like. I don't even know something.
That was my percentage of what I put for something. But I really think Bella's percentage is better, but I just wanted to put something different. And the way it's looking, it looks like Bella's percentage is better.
Really? Because I need to see.
Yo, you don't see anything. It's going 90, no, 10, yeah, so far. I should have just put what I really thought was exactly what you put.
You should have just said ditto.
Your number was perfect. Yeah, but I felt bad putting the same one. But oh well, it's not a big deal. But it might be a little bit higher. Look. You really can't see it?
No.
You have to go to YouTube. But I can't see it on StreamYard either. I'm on YouTube side.
Why are you not coming up?
I have YouTube on my other computer. I don't know.
I mean, like, Prince is coming up.
Oh, look what it's at now. Bella, it's at 87 no.
OMG.
We should have made like a bet. Or we should have done like a prize or something.
But we wouldn't have the same number.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point, Emmanuel. It's like it is. It's like, yeah.
It totally does seem like it. It's interesting. It's really interesting. But, you know, she got off.
You guys, is it not letting you guys click on it? Let me see it. So far, we only have 23 votes. And there should be 86 votes at least because there's 86 people in here. So is it not letting you guys vote or something?
I can't even believe this.
How is there only 23 votes? Huh. I don't know, guys.
Everyone else is just fell asleep.
Go look up at the top. Maybe it's like click up at the top if you don't see it. Maybe.
Is it pinned? Did you pin it?
No, I don't think you're supposed. I think it's just there, right?
Hold on.
Yeah, there's no pin. It's usually right up top anyway.
Oh no! Look, it's in the middle.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Okay, so I'm voting. Gosh. 80? I see the 80 now. I don't know.
The 88.
Hey, you jealousy.
If Diana was here, we could do the quilt giveaway, but I messaged her, but I want to wait for her to do the quilt giveaway because we got to do that soon. She's like, we need to find this a home, the quilt at home. So because Gail's here, but Diana's not. But we did start it pretty late for the later than normal starting, but we always end pretty late because we usually go long, you know.
Yeah, especially where you are because it's only like 10:30 here. But you're what at 1:30 in the morning?
Yeah. Wait, Humanimal, can you like scroll up? She's saying you can only see the yes, but can't you?
Yeah, it's up at the top. It'll go to the top. It's blue, way at the top. It'll say poll 26, and then you just hit that, and then you can see it.
Well, she's saying she can only see the yes, but can you just scroll up so you could go to the no, Humanimal?
Let us know if it works.
Yeah, you're right, Gailey. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm glad it's better off.
Gailey, we need to see your face. I mean, Johnny's like really handsome, but we need to see your face soon.
Yeah, is there anything like going on with that? Johnny Depp, any new crazy things, funny stories or anything?
Well, you know that Camille got partner.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know that I think it's HBO is doing
Discovery
Plus.
I saw that thing. I don't know who it was, but they were doing a series or a show or something. I saw that. Yeah. When is that? It's a part 2 because I guess the first part already happened from the UK part. So they're doing the part 2 for this. I saw that. What, HBO again?
No, it's Discovery Plus.
Where?
So Discovery streaming service.
I don't know if I'll be able to get it, but I didn't even watch the first one. Did you?
No, and then I heard that the first one's very like, because of what happened in London, it's very like herd, like pro herd. So who could stomach that after everything?
Oh yeah. Did you hear like those Amber Heard, like Amber Alerts or whatever, those memes? They're cracking me up. I forget some of them, but like comparing it, like the one was comparing it to an Amber Alert, but I forget how it's worded and it's funny. And then the other one, who sent it? One of you guys sent it to me. I don't know. I don't even know where it's at, so never mind. Just ignore me. I'll if I find it, I'll do a community post or something. Oh, hey, Island Girl. Thank you. Are they making more? So, Biami, have they done more interviews than the two from, what was it, CBS and Good Morning, or was it Good Morning? No, I don't know. Today's Show and then Good Morning America or whatever. Have they done more than that? Or no?
Yeah, Ben's been like talking.
Ben has, but not Camille.
Camille probably has too, like, but Ben has been like talking to a lot of things. I didn't know he had an alpaca in his pocket.
Yeah, on that one. Yeah,
I missed that one.
I didn't know until like way after. I feel like way later than what everybody else knew. But somebody.
That's so awesome. He's like just sitting there being a lawyer with an alpaca like stuffed in.
He's so cute. Did you see him get out? Look, Gailey's back. Gailey.
Oh, Gailey.
Yeah.
There she is, pretty girl.
So, did you see him get like all choked up when he was talking about that on Long Crime? He's seems like such a good guy, like, so, like a human, like a good, has a good heart and like a, because you like, like lawyers, do you find that much? Well, maybe, but it's just, he's like a human being, kind of. He just got all choked up talking about Johnny and stuff, and that,
Yeah, he's an advocate, which is so rare, right? Like, it's so rare. Shelly, it's Shelly's crush. Yes.
Oh, that's right. Shelly loves Eva Benny. Wait, you said he's married with a nice, pretty successful wife, huh? I think she said.
Good for him.
What were you saying though?
That's where advocacy and what's good about this is Camille and Ben have forged a way for young people, young adults, or even people who are older that want to aspire to go to law school, to become advocates and do the right thing with their law degree, to really be a champion of the courts. And it's important. There isn't enough of them.
Yeah, because especially these younger generations, like nobody really wants to do stuff anymore. I feel like, so no, it is. It's something that I feel like is inspiration for maybe making people want to be a lawyer. Go ahead though. Sorry.
No, absolutely. I mean, I found out when I was younger, I thought being a lawyer was hard, and my mom would always tell me to be one because I could argue anything, like, and change her mind.
My mom said that about my sister all the time. Yeah, go ahead though.
Yeah, and like I feel that yes, litigation, being a good litigator is hard. It's a creative thing. It's like an art form. But being a lawyer, after some of my friends became lawyers, I was just like some of my friends who couldn't even like spell properly, I was like, being a lawyer is not like smarts, it's just memorization, but being a good litigator, getting up there and doing what Camille does or what Ben does, being passionate and believing is the hard part. And we need more of that,
Yeah, we definitely do. Wait, well, who was I gonna? I forget now. Somebody said, oh yeah, Dylan Rounds. Yes, I'm probably gonna maybe do a live on that this week. Actually, I just wanted to finish getting a missing boy.
How old?
I don't know. You're making me sound stupid.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna do it for maybe tomorrow or maybe Tuesday, because I have my brother's wedding.
You're gonna be
I
so
don't
busy.
know. I still have to ask because I swear it was the 15th, but I swear it's Friday. So I am so confused. So I think it's Friday though. And oh yeah, it is Friday
17th.
because Thursday I have the freaking rehearsal dinner. So I want to do. I'll probably do a live maybe Tuesday or Wednesday or something and cover Dylan, and then maybe I'll do. I don't know, but yeah, he's I guess his mom is been going on channels or something. I heard, and then I guess there's some suspicious stuff, So yeah, well, I definitely am going to cover that, but just not today. I just been spending all the time getting ready for the candy one, and then so yeah, I'm not ready for the Dylan one yet. But what's that?
I love the candy one. Did you guys like it? Did you guys enjoy doing something a little different?
They did. From reading, I couldn't really be in chat too much because first of all, I was listening, and then I had to like make sure
you
I
had to
was
scroll for
up
me.
and stuff. But it sounded like everybody was really actually absorbing it and getting into it. So yeah, I think it went good, right, guys?
Thumbs up. Did we perform?
I really enjoyed it. I really did.
I did too, and it's been a long time. We haven't done live in a minute, so it was nice. It was nice to be up here seeing the
I know, and then doing like a reading that like what started it all, basically, kind of alive,
Mm-hmm. Like I said, take us back to 2021. Guys, I should have pulled out my Texas accent.
and then Bella, your thumbnail, it does look really good when I went back to go into it to do the poll. I love the thumbnail. I really do. And I'm not
Thank you
saying that. I don't know why you think I don't like it. I think it's really cool. It's definitely like my style too. Like you hit well, that's the next poll. Does everybody like the thumbnail? It really is.
People are like, no, we do not like it.
No, it's really
I mean,
good.
thank you. I'll just take that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I just didn't want to let you down. I'm like, you have a specific style. Like, I don't know about your style. I can't do that.
No, but I liked it. I like the colors. I like the hand, the axe, the picture. I like how you did the whole layout. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very nice. Anyway, so yeah, guys, well, thank you. It's been real, and hopefully I'll try to get in one more live before the wedding this weekend, and then we got to do that Chris Watts thing. I don't know. We still have to figure out. Yeah, we got to figure out how we're going to do that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, thank you guys for hanging out. It was fun. I'm glad we ended up doing it tonight, actually.
Yeah.
So let's see. 8 or okay, how much longer should I
do it?
Look what it's at. That means I won. But I really thought it was going to be higher. It's at 80-20.
I'm not seeing a percent. Oh, it is. That means you won.
But really, I mean, yeah.
You won.
How is there only 30 votes when we have 75 people in here and had 86? Why wouldn't everybody want to vote? That's weird.
Maybe some people are
30. That seems a little.
I mean, I want to vote. Do I have a spider on me? I feel a web. No, I better not, because I've been really nice to the spiders, like really nice. I fed one, and I just really no. Okay. Cannot.
Well, then maybe they'll just crawl on you and they'll be nice to you. They'll just give you a kiss.
They will not.
I don't know.
They will not. I'm scared. I have arachnophobia, guys. So
I know. I'm not a big spider fan either. They scare me. Wait, how? Oh, this has to be behind. Oh, because it's in a delay. That was so weird. I have the YouTube side and your head went like this, but then over here you were sitting up and I was like, how are you? What are you doing? Never mind.
That must be so trippy to see both of them.
Yeah. Normally I don't have the other one. Whoa, now I'm seeing me 15 seconds ago. Wow. Okay. Anyway, all right, guys. Well, thank you. I had fun.
We should answer Humanimal.
Oh, Zabdis. Oh, we never even asked. Well, I think I did kind of answer it when I was going over. At first, I was thinking going into this before even though I did read this already, but just before going into it, I was thinking, no, it was murder. And then after reading it, just reading it now with you guys, I just came to some realizations where I just thought, you know what? Yeah, I do think it was self-defense, but I do think she probably secretly did want it. And she freaking, yeah, I do think it was self-defense, but she just got that repressed memory and got that rage and secretly probably wanted it. But I do think Betty came at her, like she said. And I think it happened how she said it when she was being hypnotized, really. I mean, she didn't really deny that she how she went at her and stuff. So no, I do kind of think that for some reason. I believe her. But I don't believe that it was right how she handled it. I think she should have tried to walk away. She should have told somebody. She should have, when she had the upper hand, she could have just said, "Okay, I'm leaving." Had the axe back away and leave. That would have been the right thing to do. So she let that rage, take over. But yeah, I do think it was how she said. What about you, Bella?
This is gonna sound weird. I think it was self-defense, but I think that Candy has a thing for finishing stuff, right? So she likes to finish things, like even though she had that affair, like during the affair, it was if we ever have feelings, one of the rules, we'll have to back away from it. She told him, like, no, we got to finish this out. Like, just because your wife has like one bad day and cries, like, we can't give up on this thing. We got to see it through. She was really meticulous about finishing stuff. And I feel like she took that to murder as well. But I do think that Betty was coming at her. Now, was Betty coming at her as much as she said Betty? Like, was Betty like, I mean, ladies, who's getting tired? No one's getting tired? Like, you guys are like fighting to the death over this weird man. This man. We should find a picture of him.
You guys, I know. I thought
find a picture. You guys have to find a picture of him. Like, nothing. That's what everyone's mind, I think, was blown in 1980. Was this man? Like, her husband Pat is better, in my opinion.
I think I forgot. Here, this is it. I forgot. This is it. It has to be this guy right here. It won't let me zoom in now.
Oh,
it's got to be him. This is the one I was saying. There was one picture that was small. Shoot, why won't this let me zoom in on this? Hold on a second.
I think that is him.
It is, but let me find a way where I could zoom it in somehow. Hold on. But go ahead. Yeah, I think, no, I mean, I think you're right. I think, yeah. So, I mean, so do you think she should be free? Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, justice, that's what they found. So I have to, wait, where's the poll at? Where did that just go? Why won't this, dude, wait, why isn't this not letting me zoom in on this? Hold on, let me open it a different way.
I still see it, but now we're 81%. No. Oh, now 79%. No.
No, that's not letting me either. Well, what the
33
heck?
votes.
All right. I don't know. It's not letting me zoom into it, but oh well. Can you kind of see it, I guess? I don't know why it won't let me. Cute.
Just some guy, aesthesia. Just some guy, and they went crazy. Absolutely.
Isn't it always just some guy, though? That's the thing.
Like, if it was Johnny Depp, you'd be like, I'll fight to the death. Fight to the death for death. Kidding.
Well, maybe if I do this, let me try something real quick.
And supposedly Candy's going the whole time, I don't want the guy.
I know. No, that's... But I think maybe because they had ended it, I think maybe... I don't know, unless secretly she's still... All right, I give up. I can't zoom, but yeah, you could kind of see him. He's not anything to, whatever. He's just some guy, like you said. All right, let me get back to end.
Yes, humanity.
Should I end it now?
Yes. Good night, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your amazing words and having the discussion with us.
Yeah, thank you guys. Hopefully I'll see you this week sometime. We'll talk about Dylan and
thank you, mods. Thank you, members. Thank you, subs. Thank you, Tiff.
Thank you, Bella. Thank you. Seriously, you did my thumbnail, the title. I appreciate it.
My honor.
Reading. All right. Bye, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Sleep. Get to bed, everybody. It's late.